Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Take that.
It is Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Look who made it to town.
Yeah.
DeQuell Jackson. We don't have to see you in a little box. You're in person.
There he is.
I'm here
building.
live in flesh, yes.
Hey, man. Hey,
And he
man,
brought
by the way-
us.
Hey, by the way, show that man love, man. You see what he brought us, see how he pulled
Yeah.
up.
Tell us what that is, because
So
the
this
average drinker probably won't even appreciate it.
So it's actually at every bar. You just don't look for it.
Yeah.
Scotch whiskey, Caribbean cask. It is deliciousness on your tongue.
Wow.
And I usually drink this with a big ice cube or a cigar. So if you like cigars,
That's a man's drink
This is a
right
man's
there.
drink.
So
that's
just one
why-
ice cube? That's
yeah,
the way to go?
One big ice cube.
One big
And
ice cube. That's what I'm doing.
Dude, thank you. Seriously, thank you for
man.
that.
I'm gonna mess around and just devalue it. I'm gonna just have a square. Just a random square. G. Bush, you smoke?
So,
Yeah, I got this Camel Light.
Not to be enjoyed with a Camel Light.
right.
This is for grown folks right here. So
there you
McNuggets, he couldn't have it.
He's out.
What do you have to say about that,
You can't be a
McNuggets?
grown man
Hey,
with
I
a baby
kind of
face
took a
to
little
drink
bit of
this.
offense to that, DeQuell, but hey, I throw jabs at him, he throws jabs at me. I'm pretty sure there's a fifth one in the back. He just didn't bring on set.
So you think there's something waiting for you after the show?
But I think I got the double size one.
They were taking a picture before the show. We took a picture of the two of Mikey and DeQuell like squaring off the box. That fight would be over very quickly.
Oh, it
Yo,
wouldn't be a
fact.
fight.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be
that's not a fight.
That is
One
like-
punch hit the floor.
However, that's to promote their basketball game,
Yeah.
which will happen the next time you come to town.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
McNuggets believes in his heart, with everything his 29-year-old body is worth, that he's going to win that competition.
Well, I mean, you have to believe you have
That's
a fight, but it won't be close.
Man,
I
this
can
man-
promise you, it will not be.
This
If
close.
we boxed, I'm
No.
dead.
Yeah.
If we
dead.
shoot 3-pointers,
Okay.
I'm living forever.
No game. No, just 3-pointers. We gotta have a game.
I know,
should
we
do
do have
both.
to figure out the
We should do
parameters.
both.
We do both.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
Figure it out.
Because I do think we have to have a game of 21,
I
just so
don't
I
know.
can see you back
DeQuell's
him
just
down.
gonna back him down.
Yeah.
Though. Like,
No,
I got a little mid-range game.
This is
All right.
easy. You guys got to understand. You play, if you play one-on-one,
Yeah.
it's called 3 dribbles. You get 3
Well,
dribbles.
no, I don't like to play like that. That's NBA. No, I can't do that.
You ain't got the game.
I made a mistake. My cousin, who played overseas,
Right.
he's 6'9", played basketball. We played 3 dribbles
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, that's
and
rough.
I'll never play it again.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, that is tough. I've never heard of that rule.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not a long-range shooter
Right.
like our man is.
Yeah.
Okay, first, welcome. It's great to have
Yes,
you
great
in
to be here.
studio. I know the audience is going to enjoy that as well. Also, in the next hour of the program, Jason Lloyd from The Athletic is going to join us, and we're going to talk about a lot of the same things that we're going to get here in hour one, but we're also going to talk about the Guardians, who now, it's not official, but it's been approved by the owners in Major League Baseball. They have now taken on a minority owner who will own, at least this year, about 30% of the team, with the option to have majority and controlling interest within about 7 years. So we'll talk about that in the second hour of the program. But first, we have to start with a really interesting report yesterday from Mike Florio, Bull, your favorite.
Yeah, I don't like
of
him.
Pro Football Focus. I know you don't. Pro Football Talk, rather. So Florio wrote a column, and there were 2 big takeaways. Number one was the NFLPA is bracing for what he called unprecedented punishment of Deshaun Watson. Unprecedented, guys. I mean, I don't know how they can say that. We know what happened to Ray Rice.
Right.
He had the death penalty. He never played again after his punishment. The second takeaway in this was, if that punishment happens, the union is going to come on strong with an aggressive defense that is going to be centered around comparing Watson's punishment to 3 owners who had similar issues with women that really faced no discipline whatsoever. So, and by the way, it's not just 3 owners, it's 3 cornerstone owners.
And
Robert
Daniel
Kraft
Snyder
of
had
the
yeah.
Robert Kraft of the Patriots, Daniel Snyder of the Washington Commanders and Jerry Jones of the Cowboys. So these are three prominent guys that had their own issues.
And Jay, Daniel Snyder in particular, like there is a boatload of allegations.
Well, Robert Kraft, there was
him.
videotape of him getting a massage illegally.
But yeah, sure. But to me, Daniel Snyder's much more like Daniel Snyder's been accused of just a workplace environment of bad treatment towards women. I mean, like across the board.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Sue Robinson, who is the former judge who has been appointed and approved by both the Players Association and the owners, is the one who's going to dispense whatever punishment Deshaun Watson gets. Her suggestion to the league, which they did not take, was that Daniel Snyder be forced to sell the Redskins. That's according to reports. She hasn't confirmed that. The league hasn't confirmed that. But according to reports, Sue Robinson was going to recommend to the league that Snyder be forced to sell his team.
He should have been.
I call them the Redskins. They're the Commanders now.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to start with your reaction. And G. Bush, I want you to start. And you know why. Because you've been sitting in that chair for 3 or 4 weeks saying, hold up.
Yeah.
You can't have rules for players that don't apply to the owners. So go.
You're welcome, guys out there. I did a eloquent video that has reached over, I think it's over about 50,000. Another one that's over 28,000, 30,000, detailing exactly what you just heard. My argument, my case, and I just said, why do people believe that the NFL Players Association is not going to put up a fight? First and foremost, you are in a catch-22 here. Because if you have unprecedented, when you say unprecedented, never seen before penalties against Deshaun Watson, and then you look over to the people that are paying Deshaun Watson, the people who are owning these organizations, and they get 0, well, see, now you set up a catch-22. I argue that there's been 3 death penalties. 1, Ray Rice, never seen again. It looks like they're trying to incorporate this indefinite suspension for Deshaun Watson. And the second one is Colin Kaepernick. He's been erased. So you're saying that, and so when they say the shield has to understand, and you can't have certain conduct. That's a lie, because here's the thing: you've effectively gotten rid of Colin Kaepernick for simply kneeling. So you tell me,
with Josh Gordon too, you could throw him in there. They effectively ruined and ended his career for smoking weed.
So you're sitting here, we got to do this because it's the sexual assault, all the allegations, it's just way too much. Well, okay, you didn't think it was way too much when Kaepernick don't play, and you lost in court, and you had to pay him for collusion. I also will say, what happened? What happened to the Flores case? Because anybody heard anything about that Flores case? Oh, I'm sorry. John Gruden lasted how many days? 2? Where was all the John Gruden? He's done. He's gone. Let's shoo him up out of here. You guys have no moral ground to stand on. 0. So you better just give him, and I'm going to let you know something right now. I don't use the R word very, very loosely. But I'm telling you, if you give an indefinite suspension, you're going to have a problem with not only people on one side. You got a problem with people who look like me, who identify like me, and come from where we come from. Because there's obviously 2 sets of standards, 2 sets of outcomes, and 2 sets of penalties, depending on who you are. I'll just leave it at that.
DeQuell?
Yeah, I think the NFL here just doesn't have a good reputation when it comes to discipline. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Even when I played the game, when I was a player, you didn't know what outweighed what punishment would fit the crime. So here, the NFL just completely dropped the ball in this case. You feel like they have all the facts. We understand there were no criminal charges, but yet there's a ton of civil cases out here. Let's make a decision already. What are you waiting on? Make a decision. This unprecedented punishment, what does that even mean?
What do you think it means? Because
a year suspension. I think it means a year suspension, but not indefinitely from being able to work. There was no criminal charge. Again, I'm not trying to absorb him from any responsibility with these women accusing him of sexual misconduct.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. He has to share some blame here. But again, the NFL has continuously dropped the ball when it comes to mandating punishment, being proactive. The NFL's always gotten a bad name, in my opinion, of being this reactive kind of space, right? It's like if we get with the Ray Rice incident you brought up, they initially handed down, I believe it was a 4-game suspension.
Then the video
shows, and now it's like, oh, wait, we got to really, put the hammer down.
They underreacted, and then perhaps some say they overreacted.
Yeah, so they just don't have a good reputation when it comes to
Do you like the method that they've employed? Because the commissioner used to be the judge, jury, executioner, and to sort of take himself out of that bullseye of criticism, the league decided that they were going to go to an outside former judge, and they've agreed upon Sue Robinson as the person that will sit in that role. The owners approved her, and the players' union approved her. And at the time, I thought, you know what, that's a pretty good way of doing it, because at least you've got the union that says she's going to be fair, and the owners. But now, even before this first big criticism,
it looks good.
She's in the crosshairs.
She looks good. It looks like you wanted to do something about it. But then again, you said,
lip service. You say
Daniel Snyder. I think you should force him to sell. We're not gonna go that far, Sue.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't get beside yourself now.
We don't want you. We don't want you coming out with that. Don't mention that publicly.
Now.
Yeah. And I'm surprised the Players Association didn't go crazy over that.
And by the way, one owner we didn't mention, Jimmy Haslam, whose business got raided by the FBI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, his whole business got raided by the FBI. A lot of people got trouble for that. He got somehow off the hook, even though he was running the whole show. Okay, they were doing all kinds of shady stuff, and he got no punishment whatsoever.
Right.
So there is a double standard. We know this in the NFL. It's completely unfair. It's there. The owners don't even hide behind it. There's been no penalties for anybody, really, in any kind of legitimate way. In terms of what DeQuell was saying, inconsistency, right? Calvin Ridley got suspended for betting. Remember last year? He got bet for a full year.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon, all those suspensions. Now, the rules were the rules with Josh Gordon. You got to follow the rules. They're stupid. I think testing for marijuana is the dumbest thing on the face of the earth, unless you're a doctor or a pilot. But I don't care if you're smoking pot as a football player.
Especially when many
use
it as a pain relief.
Exactly. It's so stupid. And it's becoming legal smartly, finally, in a lot of states. I will say this. I think I've seen some of the tweets at Pat McManaman yesterday. They're disgraceful. Some people are saying idiotic things. Pat's entitled to his opinion. I think we all acknowledge that we disagree with him. Certainly G and I disagree with what Pat said yesterday. Right. But I respect his opinion to say that and have that belief. But the bottom line is
that, to my point earlier yesterday on Twitter, that's why it's a dangerous place to live.
That's right. But the bottom line is, guys, if they suspend him for any more than 8 games, if I'm the PA, I'm going bananas over that. Eight should be the max. I think it should be between 6 and 8. Let me just finish here. But any more than that is ridiculous, because, and here's the bottom, like, the idea that the league would be worried about too small a suspension because of PR is stupid. Because there's a guy who's done something bad on every football team, in every police station, in every fire station, in every radio station, in every office in America, and they don't lose their jobs over it unless they go to jail. Unless they go to jail.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. We can go through every walk of life. And it's stupid. If I want to protest everything that I don't like, well, I can't buy any clothes because they're made in places where there's child labor. I can't go to 15 different restaurants because I don't like their politics. Eventually, what am I going to do? Sit in my home and twiddle my thumbs?
This is tangential. I don't want to go down this road too much, but we have, in this cancel culture, that people have lost their jobs for tweeting their opinion.
Right.
A lot of people have lost their jobs for tweeting their opinion.
Yeah.
So, that's a societal issue. I think in general we've become less tolerant of people's thought. And
Colin Kaepernick has
and I wanted to clear
his job
something up
for
too,
his
G. I didn't want it to make it seem when Colin Kaepernick was never suspended by the league. What the league did to him was they just colluded against him to keep him out.
Yes.
Which is even worse.
Yes.
Because they tried to hide behind something, and they all got together and said, and look, they had to write him a check because it was going to go to court.
Right.
And he was going to.
Yeah, he didn't actually lose in court, but he would have.
He didn't lose in court, but the league felt that there was a chance that they could lose.
Yeah, right. They were going to.
And so here's one of the points that I want to make before we move on off of this. The reason this is a brilliant strategy from the NFLPA, 2 reasons, I think. Number one, there is a line in the personal conduct policy, and I don't know, McNuggets, if you took this graphic yet or not.
We got it, yep.
But I'll read it. The line from the personal conduct policy reads like this: ownership and club or league management will be subjected to more significant discipline when violations of the personal conduct policy occur.
Wow.
Not just players, ownership and management. And here's the real genius behind this strategy. The NFLPA knows that the league did its own internal investigation.
Right.
But here's what they're going to do. They're going to drag the owners to court, and they're going to say, we need discovery. We want everything you found in your personal investigation.
Right.
Because it was very interesting. The investigation into the then Redskins, or Washington football team, led to one person being disciplined, and that was John Gruden, who was not a league employee at the time, who said some terrible things in some email to the general manager of Washington at the time. You mean to tell me that voluminous investigation just turned up that? So the league now is going to have to take everything they learned in the Dallas investigation, the Washington investigation, as well as the, who was the other owner?
Robert Kraft.
The Patriots.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to give it to the NFLPA. And they don't want that out of their hands.
Right.
So this might be a brilliant strategy by the NFLPA to leak this news, their strategy, to Florio in an effort to tell the league, careful, boys.
Yeah.
Because if you come down too hard, we'll see you in court. And we'll get to see all the evidence that you uncovered, that you buried on Washington, on Dallas, and on New England.
I'm putting my last comment to DeQuell. Let me ask you this question. You played in the league, man. And when you are told from a standpoint as a player, you can't do this, you can't do this. They got symposiums where you can't do this. This is how you can mess up. They got motivational speakers. Your coaches tell you. How does it feel as a player when you've been told since the beginning about accountability? That big accountability word is huge in the league.
Right.
But yet and still, you see the owner do something, and then you see coaches do something. How does that make you feel as a player? And do you kind of like look at it like, really? Like this is we don't have the same set of standards.
Right. You realize you're playing under a different set of rules than most people. And ownership, from a player standpoint, when all this is happening, Daniel Snyder's, all these owners being caught up in this misconduct, as a player, you realize right away you're operating on a different set of rules. And the game I'm playing is completely different from theirs. So it's a very slippery slope you have to play. And if you understand it, you have issues. You have this double standard with the league.
Was that talked about a lot amongst players?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, guys, we forget there was a guy in the league who didn't get an unprecedented punishment, who actually killed someone.
You're right.
Wow, you're right.
And he was able to come back and
You're
play.
right.
You're absolutely
I forgot
right.
about that.
So
Dang.
we can go back to the history of the NFL and look at the inconsistency of punishment. So that's been an ongoing conversation throughout players, coaches, in its entirety.
Unfortunately, in America, the 1% does whatever the hell they want, and they face no consequences.
And I think that this issue in the NFL may change that at this league level. One other thing I wanted to point out, I mentioned John Gruden, who was the one who lost his job when they were investigating Washington, and Gruden wasn't even an employee of the league. A judge recently ruled that his lawsuit against the league can go forward. And the reason that is important, because if the league doesn't settle with John Gruden, and my guess is they will, and the reason they will is because all of the stuff that they uncovered in that investigation is going to become evidence. And we're going to learn about it. And the one thing the league is very good at doing is burying stuff they don't want anybody to know about.
Some Congress people are asking for the whole Washington investigation.
Absolutely.
Which has been released.
So the league is in a very tenuous spot right now. And this Deshaun Watson issue could end up being the powder keg that leads to big, big issues for the NFL. Let's see what happens from here. But I think it was a smart strategy by the NFLPA to really put the pressure on the league before anything comes out and lets them know, careful.
We're not letting it go.
Because we're not letting this go.
Jay, we got it. DeQuell yesterday was at Browns camp, and he saw Deshaun Watson practice.
Yes.
And you said something to me about watching him. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah. So, I spent 8 years here in Cleveland, and carousel of quarterbacks. I get to Indy, you can tell Andrew Luck, the way the ball comes out of his hands is just different. Yesterday, watching Jacoby Brissett and watching Deshaun Watson, stark difference. The ball was crisp. He knew where he was going with the ball. It just feels and looks different. And listen, whenever he's able to play, he's going to be a difference maker right away.
Special.
Earlier this week at mandatory camp, Jadeveon Clowney had something to say that caught everybody's attention.
Yeah.
Mikey, Steve, if we can roll that soundbite from Jadeveon Clowney, and then we'll react to it on the backside. But this caught everybody's attention.
I was all about where my boy Deshaun was going. when I talked to him. I said I played with him, and he kept us off the field a lot. And I was like, wherever you go, I know you're going to keep us off the field. You put up a lot of points, put us in rush and rushing situations instead of having to stop the run all the time. And I just wanted to go play with him and see what I can do with him again. Yeah, I talked to him a few times before he signed. And after he signed, stayed in touch doing that whole little thing about coming here and if he come, if I come, what's going to happen. And I told him if he go, I'll follow him up here. I'll go back. So that's what it came down to.
Wow. Interesting because it took a lot longer for him to sign than a lot of people thought.
Right.
And you would think that if that was his sole criteria, he would have signed way earlier. So, but take it for what it's worth. What do you make of that? Would you have ever followed an offensive player?
Hell yes.
Yes. You probably just didn't play it with any here that you would have followed.
Right. So when I was let go in 2014 here, I had in my mind, I was going to go to a place that had a quarterback.
Yeah.
All the things that Jadeveon Clowney alluded to, hey, someone that can keep me off the field, someone that can move the chains, someone that's a difference maker. Let's say it came down to Denver and Indianapolis, which was Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. Yeah. So absolutely, I get it. For him being a veteran in the league, he's looking at, hey, when I don't want to play 75 to 100 snaps a game. Playing with a difference maker, you go from 75 to 100 snaps a game to maybe 55 to 65 snaps a game.
That could add a year or two to your
Absolutely. So it definitely makes sense, and I would definitely do it. If I had a chance to do it all over again, I would. Yeah, it absolutely makes all the sense in the world.
But what do
Plus,
you
they
make
have
of
the
those comments?
relationship already, right?
Sure,
They played
you know
together in Houston.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, the quarterback on the team, if he's the guy, is revered, right? It's like you want to play. Everybody wants to play around that guy. Plus, beyond that stuff, which I don't think I would have thought about as a non-player. Which
I wouldn't have thought of the number
right. You wouldn't have thought about that.
I just would have thought of the chance of winning is increased.
Right. When he says it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But also, you're more likely to win a Super Bowl playing with Deshaun Watson if he's on the, if he's able to be on the field, than you are with, whoever the hell else you might, some schlubby quarterback on another team. So it makes total sense to me.
It does. The way you framed it was very smart.
I'm just laughing. Go back to shout out to G. Bush. He won it today, man. You guys keep confirming my
People's
stories.
champ.
Yeah.
By the way, I told you, go back and check my timeline. I told you in late October, early November, I said Jadeveon, this is from, and these sources were good. Shout out to y'all, by the way. I told you Jadeveon Clowney is not signing back with the Cleveland Browns if Baker Mayfield is the quarterback. I told you that. I tweeted it. I also told you that if they got Deshaun Watson, that Jadeveon Clowney would sign. And he has signed. Now, the reality of the situation is there's lots of defensive players. The whole entire defense is thinking that way. He says something, and I can totally, completely understand as a defensive lineman. Ain't nobody trying to sit up here and defend the run. I ain't trying to be doing inside tackle drill. I'm getting double teamed. They running zone. I'm getting chipped. I'm getting cracked back on by the tight end, and it's 2nd and 3. You know what they can run in 2nd and 3? Anything. You out here looking crazy. We want to get you in 3rd and long, 3rd and 12, and now I can get out here and rush the passer. That's what I get paid to do if I'm Clowney. When you don't got a quarterback, they running the clock out on you. They pounding you, running play action on you. The linebackers is biting. Nobody wants to do that. And plus, here's the thing. You know this. You played. When you got a quarterback that you know can come back, don't you want to give him the ball back?
Absolutely.
Don't you want?
Absolutely.
Hey, come on out here, guys.
Let's get a 3 and out and get it back to him.
You remind me of a memory when we were in Indy. Anytime it was 3rd down, the offense had the ball and they converted. Guys on the sideline, the defense would start dapping each other. Hey, we can sit another 2 minutes.
Post it up.
That's huge.
Guys pay attention to the floor of the game, and when you have a guy that can move the chains, keep you off the field. Like you said earlier, it adds years. It adds a little more juice, and
Does it also make you more relaxed? If you know your quarterback is good, are you kind of in a way more relaxed on defense because you know the quarterback can come back, even if we do blow it, whatever, the quarterback can come back?
That's a great point. My first year in Indianapolis, I felt that. I felt that from the defensive guys. Like, why is this so lax as compared to being in Cleveland? Guys were, every snap was everything. And I had a problem with it, and it caused some friction in the locker room at one point. I'm like, you guys are too freaking lax because you guys have 12 back here.
Right.
No. And so, that was one of my issues there. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
That
man.
happens a lot.
It happens
in the league.
It happens.
I was in Tampa from '98 to '03. It ended with them winning the Super Bowl. But in '98, '99, 2001, 2, they had great teams. They had Warren Sapp,
Yes.
Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rondé Barber.
Yes.
All those were defensive guys.
Right.
And in camp, when it was hot and everyone was irritable, you would hear guys from the defense yelling to guys on the offense, you guys better get your shit together.
Absolutely.
We've got to be better, guys. We can't be on the field 75% of the time.
Right.
And the way the seasons played out in those 4 years, the first 4 years I was there, was the defense was averaging 12 points allowed per game.
Yeah.
And they couldn't score 14. Trent Dilfer was their
Yeah, I
quarterback.
remember.
Then they brought in Brad Johnson. Gruden finally got the offense clicking
Yeah.
with Keyshawn Johnson, but they had to bring in guys. But there was always that friction between the offense and the defense when the defense was powerful and the offense just wasn't pulling their weight.
When you were on the Browns, down deep, was there did you feel like you were going to lose because the offense was no good?
We knew we had the conversation changed on defense to us stopping guys to, hey, we need to score on defense.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like that was our mantra.
And if
Like,
you're
hey,
thinking the defense has to score to win, that's not a good
it
place
was like
to be.
we had to, and it was such a hard thing to kind of quell the conversations of, hey, guys, we can't blame the offense, even though it was fair, but you couldn't go down that rabbit hole. But the conversation, we got to score on defense. We have to generate 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to do every game.
Yeah.
And you had to deal with it, but it was extremely frustrating.
But the players now, like Myles Garrett, Clowney, all these good players they have on defense, they're thinking, we got Watson.
Oh,
We're going to score a ton of points.
Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, with the addition, let's say Watson, when Watson does return to the field, the production we've seen from Myles Garrett will go through the roof.
You think?
Absolutely, because now he's not as tired. He's not. You're going to reduce plays by 10.
Does it matter too that if they're always if the other team is always playing from behind, that means more chances to get after quarterbacks.
Exactly. So to that point, let's say this offense is scoring right away. You get a 14-point lead. Now the opposing offense, you got to abandon your scheme. Now you have to throw the ball.
And the defense
Myles
knows
Garrett
that.
Can pin his ears back.
Here
and
we
he can
come.
get after. So it all works together.
I'm getting excited talking about this.
I know.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm fired up.
The pieces really are alive.
Can the season get here already, please?
So, Bull, do you have anything in your glass here? Do you have a drink?
I have some water here.
Take a drink because I have a feeling you're going to overheat on this.
Yeah.
next
Oh,
topic.
yeah. Okay.
So I want you to bring your body temperature down right now.
I'm not mad at Bitonio
No,
for
I
the
know
record.
you're not. I
I'm
want
mad
you
at
to take a
Bitonio.
big, deep breath.
Yeah. All right.
And I want you to listen carefully to Joel Bitonio from camp. Was this Tuesday?
Yeah.
I think it was
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It was
right,
Wednesday.
Right.
So from Wednesday's mandatory camp afterwards, he talked to the media, and he had this to say about Baker Mayfield. Listen.
Baker's my guy. I still remember, the Thursday night Jets game when he came into the game and helped lead us to victory. And that was, one of the more special moments in my career, just because it had been so long since we won games. And he's a tough guy, and he played his heart. He played his heart out for us, and I always respect that. He's still a friend of mine. We text occasionally, and I think like everybody else, he's kind of waiting it out to see where he's going. But Baker did a lot for this franchise. He won a lot of games. He was a great player for us, and I'll always be a friend.
All right.
Go.
So let me say this. First of all, Joe Bitonio is one of my favorite players on the Browns. He's a great player. I said he's the most underrated player on the team. I think he's probably the second best guard in all of football behind, what's his name, Quentin Nelson from the Colts, right?
However, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Love the guy. Yep. He's phenomenal. Okay, I'm not mad at him, but let me get to a couple things. Number one, Joe Bitonio in his, 7 years in the league, has never said a bad word about anybody. Never. Nor should he. I'm not going to rip any teammates. So I didn't expect him to say anything bad about Baker. But as soon as he said that, I rolled my eyes and I said, Jay and the Baker bros.
Yep, here we
they're
go.
all going to tell us, Bitonio loves Baker. Bitonio loves everybody. And Bitonio's going to love Watson because he's going to get him even more wins eventually when he gets to play. All right? But the fans, the Baker bros that are obsessed with every time somebody says something nice about Baker. Good. I'm sure most of his teammates like him. G and I know for a fact that there's at least one player on his team that does not like him, and he's a good player on his team.
Well, you'd be hard-pressed to find any quarterback that doesn't have one guy on the team.
I don't know. He's an important player on the team. I'm not going to say who it is. You can say who it is if you want. But
Wait, did we confirm that was definitely legitimate?
We got 99% confirmation.
He's shaking his head.
It's
yes.
98% confirmation.
You may have been getting catfished. And you know it.
Hey, but here's the
It's
thing.
possible.
But here's the thing.
Chance.
This individual was sure right about Jadeveon Clowney.
That's true. He was.
Same source.
Yeah.
The same source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same source.
Okay.
And
Oh, we can't do.
no, we can't. We can't reveal our sources.
The reason I brought it up, Steve, our executive producer, was off camera saying, "Say it, say it." The reason they're not going to say it because they're not sure.
Hey,
There's this much. There's this much.
Jay, we went through the Tegner journalism school. You taught the class on ethics, and I can't really go down
All
there.
I'll say is there's one of the players' parents has contacted both G and I.
And see, to me, that just sounds like y'all got catfished and didn't know it. Yeah, yo, I'm someone's dad.
There's a prominent beat reporter who claims that the person is legit.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. See,
So we
corroborated
believe
the
it.
story.
We believe it.
You can believe it.
Especially because that person told us that this player's two favorite broadcasters in Cleveland are me and G.
Yeah, he
Right?
did. Yeah,
That's right. That's why we believe it.
Hell yeah, I believe
That's
it.
right.
Hell yeah.
Of course we believe it.
It's serious, bro.
All right. So here's the thing. The Baker Bros are still out there, okay? And listen, Baker's a nice player. I even though I said he sucks sometimes, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Overall, my analysis, when I'm being fair, which is most of the time, is that the guy is an average NFL quarterback. But, as I have said before, because pretty much every quarterback the Browns have had for the last 40 years outside of Bernie Kosar and Baker has been absolute trash.
Careful, Tim Couch is in that family.
No offense. Tim Couch
Tim Couch had awful pieces
Tim Couch was in
around.
an
That's an expansion squad.
I take Tim Couch out of it because he's not even on the list.
Yeah.
It's not fair. Tim Couch was in an
Well, that's why I
impossible
brought
spot.
that up.
Yes.
You said everybody but Bernie.
You're right. Tim Couch is just like by himself an impossible spot. Could not possibly succeed in his position, and he played pretty well considering the
We also
circumstances.
had Derek Anderson who had a nice year.
He had 1 year.
Yeah, I know.
1 year.
I know.
That was
He
it.
did.
Yeah.
But when you see bad quarterback after bad quarterback after bad quarterback, mediocrity looks better than it is. Okay?
there's truth to
And
that.
that's what has happened here.
Yeah.
So he won one playoff game. All credit. I wasn't knocking him at the time.
You
I
couldn't.
was. He played well. The defense played well. They got off to a good start. He won that game. Kudos to him. But one playoff win, even though this franchise was desperate for one, doesn't give you this great lifetime pass like you're the Messiah coming to town. That's not what the case is. In the end, they had a chance to get better at the position.
So Joel's wrong.
No, all Joel said was he still considers him a friend. I don't think anything he said wrong. What I'm bothered by the quote is just that it riles up the Baker Bros.
Yeah.
That's the only problem.
Well, whenever someone says anything bad about Baker,
Yeah.
you love to put
love
that
it.
in the show. And Bull's
Love
like,
it.
we got to start the show with
Let's
this.
get Robbie Anderson.
We got to start the show
We're
with
talking
this.
about
That's a
Robbie
fact.
Anderson. Robbie Anderson, bring him to Cleveland.
Absolutely a fact.
Am I-
Joel is the first one to get in the group chat
yes.
saying,
So you know
"Fire
what
up,
it is?
we got to
It's-
start with
It's
this
like
today."
most things in life.
Yeah.
We cling on to things that fit our narrative, and we
course.
push away
Right.
those that don't.
Of course, but I'm not saying everybody on the Browns hates Baker.
No,
I'm
and
saying
even-
there's a few guys probably
and-
don't like him like anybody
And
else.
Aditi has said, look, guys, Baker was a great teammate, and his teammates loved him. She said that on this very show.
So I had a chance to talk to Ronnie Harrison, safety, and at the barbecue, and I asked him about Baker. He was like, "Hey, how was Baker as a teammate?" They absolutely loved the guy.
Yeah.
But I asked him about how do you feel about what's going on. He was like, "Listen, the general consensus was pretty much what we've been talking about all year." He's like, "Look, whoever management decides to play under center, that's who we're going to support. We like Baker. He's a good guy. I'll let him figure out his contract situation, and I'll figure out
And
my
that's what
situation."
smart players say.
Right. I assumed he was going to say that, but I'm sure he's seeing the difference of that ball flying off of Deshaun Watson's hand. And to your point, you'll be able to notice mediocrity, average to elite. It is that simple.
It'll jump off the screen at us.
Oh, yeah.
I've been married twice. I was married the first time, right? I give her credit. She came to some functions. She didn't have an attitude all
She
the
won
time.
one playoff game.
She was mediocre.
You know, she did some good stuff.
So you married Baker first, and now you're married to Deshaun.
But then when it was time to make the moves, I'm trying to solidify. I'm gonna have kids. What we gonna do with this house? What we doing? We build together. I noticed some cracks in the foundation.
Well, that's because you were doing the makeup. That's
I couldn't really go to the next level with her.
Yeah.
That's why my career wasn't where I was at. Now look where I'm at. I got married again. I'm looking good. I'm smelling good, losing weight, out here moving to my. See, that's the difference between getting with somebody that's gonna get you a divisional playoff game and somebody that's gonna take you to the championship game. There you go.
That might be the best analogy you've ever made on the show.
Mic drop.
Your first wife was Baker Mayfield. Your current wife.
She's watching right now, the first wife?
Yeah, she probably still hating. But she know I'm looking good. She know I'm looking, no disrespect.
That's right.
I wish the best luck to you.
Jaquel, have you heard the stories about how G. Bush, with his first wife, was looking at her makeup, and he was looking at her like, babe, your eyebrows are a little crooked. So he looked up YouTube makeup tutorials and took over her makeup kit.
Yeah.
Wait, you were doing her makeup?
Yeah,
Yes.
I told her.
What?
I said her.
And she trusted you to do her makeup?
Her eyebrows were C-. I told her. Her eyebrows were C-.
Oh, no.
She had
I
Baker
don't cross
eyebrows.
over to that world.
But I will say this. I give credit. I ain't no hater. I give credit. Her eyebrows now, she got A- eyebrows. For real.
Why the minus? Why not just A?
Well, sometimes she got this eyebrow over here. Every woman's eyebrows is not symmetrical, right? They're like one is either shorter, it can be thinner. Look, she over there.
Wait, you talking about your first wife or your second wife?
No, everybody.
You better be careful.
Wait, do you do your second wife's makeup too?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
It's a
Good for
man's
you.
man right
Hey,
Good for you.
You got to get it together. I said, oh, listen.
Now, what if they were to come at you and say, bro, you got some, your eyebrows are all off too?
Well, mine's a little thin right here, but I can't come in there as a grown man. I'm 6'5", 300 something. You can't be running around here with the stencil on. I mean, she tell me I need a haircut.
Can we do that one day for yourself?
Oh, my God.
Go ahead.
Would you let your wife line you up?
No. Unacceptable.
Well, why? Wait, whoa. Rules for thee, but not for me.
I had to practice first. Now, if she get with me and we
Who'd
be
you
like,
practice on?
the first wife.
By the way, the folks may not know, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the air, but there was one day after a show where you were doing Tyvis's hair.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got him together. So something to bring a little
Straightening
something.
him up, filling in some powder.
We were doing it right here.
We were laughing hysterically.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
believe in investing in your woman. You should invest in your woman, right?
Wow.
You should. Right?
Hold on, Brianna's writing something down feverishly on the board. Brianna, what do you got? Just say it.
Look, I can't see. I ain't got no glasses on.
Microblading. Like the microblading.
Oh, yes.
Microblading, that's what you do now.
Is that the thing where they
The-
take
the-
those strings and they like pluck them out?
That's threading.
That's
Right.
threading.
But the micro shading and microblading, that's more permanent, and you don't have to.
Do you know how to do this? Can you teach G.
No,
Bush?
but it's not cheap. It costs from $400 and up.
Oh,
What?
my God.
So I learned the hard way. One of the biggest things that I regret, when you divorce, you say what you gonna pay, what you gotta pay, right? So we split up our stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Did she get the makeup kit or did you get
She forget the makeup kit. I had to pay the laser hair removal bill. So she got laser hair removal everywhere. And so then when we got divorced, she's like, yeah, that's your part. You got to take care of it. So it was
You have to pay her laser removal bill.
it was either that or the furniture, and we had a rental apartment or something else. I was like, I'll take that. But then I had to go tell my new wife, yeah, if you see something coming out of my account, that's
Oh,
it.
my goodness.
That's my divorce settlement.
Oh, my
That's that
goodness.
settlement game. But listen,
That's amazing.
Shout out to my wife. She took it all in stride. She was like, at least
That's
you better
amazing.
have it paid before we get married, though.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be paying because otherwise she's paying for
Yeah,
half of
right.
it,
She's
too.
paying for it, right?
All right, we're going to
That's
stay
amazing.
on the soundbite train here. Anthony Walker Jr., who's really emerged as a leader on this team last year. There's a lot to love about not just his play, but also his energy, and the guys gravitate to his leadership. This week, he said that there is something special going on with this current roster. Let's play this, and then we'll react to it.
Okay.
I'll be completely honest. When I was in Indy, I thought that we established that culture there, and when I came here, it was a little different. And I'm starting to feel what I felt in Indy, when I was there. Just the brotherhood that we had, all the guys coming together, the team camaraderie. Last year, it was, a little standoffish, and, a lot of guys, again, this is professional football, so I get it. But to be a great team, you got to have that camaraderie. You got to have that team mindset, because when you go through the dark days of, sometimes you may lose, or, the dog days of camp, the dog days of this grind, the mini camp and everything like that, you need that team brotherhood, that team bond to keep bringing you together. And I'm glad that we're building that.
DeQuell, talk about that right there, that chemistry that you can't really see but you can feel.
Yes.
How big is that for a team?
That he's exactly right. In Indianapolis, we had that. When I was here, Mike Adams. Mike Adams is a guy, every Friday he would have DB night. Either we'll be at someone's house or we'll go to a restaurant. That builds team chemistry. It is very important in the locker room that guys hang out outside of the building, because the building, it gets monotonous. You're doing the same things, and off the field, you get to know, your teammates' wives, their kids, their family, how they operate, what they believe in, and it's definitely important. The fact that he came out and said it now gives me the idea that now he's really evolving as that team leader. He's that outspoken leader for the defense and for that team, and if he's talking about it, I think it's a great thing. Back to my conversation I had with Ronnie Harrison yesterday at the barbecue, he was also telling me, hey, some guys are throwing a birthday party, and a lot of guys are flying down to Atlanta, wherever the place they were going to go, and I immediately thought this team is going to be pretty good. They're already hanging out. They're already planning to hang out with each other. So I'm a big component of hanging out outside of the building, and it pays huge dividends in the
Bull, was that a shot at Baker, perhaps?
No. As much as I'd love to say it was, I don't think it was.
Because he did kind of imply that it's happening now, meaning it wasn't here last year.
I do think he did, I believe, either before or after that, because I saw somebody tweet this quote and then qualify it by saying he thought COVID was a factor in their life.
That makes sense.
But and another thing.
Because they couldn't get together outside of the facility.
Right. Think about this, too. Last year, this defense had so many new players.
Good point.
Right? Yeah. There were a ton of new players. This year.
And they couldn't bond outside of the building.
And they couldn't bond because of COVID.
Right.
That was a factor.
Right.
This year, who's new on the defense besides the rookies?
Yeah.
Nobody.
No.
All the veterans are the same, right? Did they have any veterans that are new? I don't think so.
No.
Oh, Chase
Winovich.
Winovich.
Yeah, Chase is new. You're right.
But the majority of the key players on this defense have at least been here 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
DeQuell, how big is that? The fact that, not because the first half of the season, we were saying.
Right. Defense was not great for
DC has to go.
Yeah.
Woods was taking all kinds of fire from all sides. But, boy, the second half of the season,
were great.
This was a playoff caliber defense.
Yeah, it pays dividends because the returning guys, they understand the rhythm of how the defensive coordinator makes calls throughout a game, and now you have a sixth sense about it. And when you have a collective effort, when you have collective guys coming back, another year under the system, another year hanging out, another year building that chemistry, now you're going to see a touch better of play, in my opinion. Anytime you've been in the system for more than 1 year, multiple years, you go back to the Pittsburgh days, back in the old days when I was playing. Those guys were so good on defense because they ran the same system forever.
Yeah.
And it's simple math, in my opinion.
Sure. I think I used to always say this, and people say, what the heck does that mean? Either you eat birthday cake with somebody or you don't, right? Birthday cake, if you go to somebody's house, right, and you ain't got no kids. I go to Adam the Bull's house. I ain't got no kids. I bring my wife, and his kid got a birthday party, and he like 9. You gotta know I mess with you. You gotta know we cool, because I'm coming to a little kid's party with nothing to show for it, and I'm just pulling up, having birthday cake with a little kid. If somebody do that for you, you great. There's something about, like, in culture, like, I'm big into food. Like, if you sit down and have a meal with somebody. Like, when you break bread.
It's a bonding event.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
fishing.
That's a thing.
Movies.
And that's that type of stuff that puts you in a different level, man. And you want to be like, hey, I'm going to go out here and play hard for this dude because we got a shared meaning. Like, other than that, I've been on teams where it's like, I see these guys 5-6 times. And if you play defense, you really don't never see nobody playing offense. They on the other side of the room, and you very rarely see them.
Right.
But if you're going out having meals with somebody, that's what builds that level of that trust.
Sure.
Okay,
No doubt.
we in it to win it, and we all on the same page.
It's interesting. I happened to see a video of Joe Burrow saying the Bengals should pay Jesse Bates, their safety.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they were like, and somebody asked him, hey, have you seen Jesse? Have you talked to Jesse Bates? He's like, yeah, we're going to Vegas together next year. And I'm thinking the quarterback's going with the safety to Vegas
That's
together.
why
you want that type of stuff.
They had so much success. That guy understands it. And when you have your top dog that is approachable by everyone, and he's hanging out with everyone,
especially guys on the
defense.
defense.
Team morale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something tells me the birthday party the Browns are planning in Atlanta probably won't include birthday cake. That's just a guess.
No, not
just a guess.
Hey, Atlanta.
Hey, listen. Let me tell you. Hey, listen. I need y'all don't have no ideas.
Don't get in trouble.
No ideas. Bro.
Atlanta's the city where
honestly, I was thinking birthday cake on top of a woman, but that's probably not a good idea for this team.
No,
bad idea.
No women.
Can we strike that comment from the record? Scrub that from the internet.
It's gone forever.
Gone forever?
Erased.
Oh, man, and we can't talk about sex at all now?
No, not that. Jaquel, have you ever been wrong where you said, okay, this team has that chemistry, and that's going to lead to wins, or
Why you laughing?
or I can't. You play on the Browns
Every single year.
Well, listen, there might have been times on the Browns where you were like, man, we've got no gel. Or did you ever play for a team where there were walls and there wasn't that camaraderie, particularly away from the site, where you guys hit the field on Sundays and you had it?
No, defensively, we were always tight. You had to be. Because
so it doesn't always equate to success.
No, hell no.
Still get your doors blown off.
No, right.
I like those guys, but these guys still stink.
I had some of the best friendships on the defense because, once you in a situation like that, we don't have an offense, we're not winning, it actually, gels things a lot closer. And so you're in the fire with your buddy and you're getting your head pummeled every week. And so it actually brings you together. But just because we were close did not equate to more win. I wish it had.
So we shouldn't get too excited about the fact that this team is really gelling.
Well, this team
it's nice.
Yes.
You'd rather
They got a lot
have
of talent on this team.
Yeah, that's true.
DeQuell didn't have a lot of talent.
Did you
around
ever
him
play
on
a team that was, it would have been in Indianapolis, that was super talented but just didn't get along or didn't have that vibe?
Yeah, so in Indy, the first year it was like that. Maybe because it was my first year there, trying to get acclimated. But it was, everyone did their own thing. But once Mike Adams arrived, oh man, he was like, this is a mandate. We're all hanging out on Friday. We're all gonna, even if you come for 5 minutes, you need to come. And then if you didn't come, you would get fined. The teammates will find, hey, that's $20.
Right.
It ended up working out.
This is kind of off the beaten trail. I've always wondered because, we were told that Andrew Luck was going to be Jesus in cleats. We heard that he was supposed to be the prototype. That was it. What was it like playing with Andrew Luck? He seemed to be like a little bit of an enigma.
We were talking about this for a while.
Right, a little bit of an enigma. Like, I don't really get much. And then he showed up and he was just gone. Right?
Yeah, so he has a personality that you would probably equate to like Myles Garrett, right? He's like an extreme nerd, right? Yep. But he's a great teammate. And Andrew, he had a flip phone. Let's say that. He had a flip phone
he never had
in 2015. A flip phone? Like, you got to be kidding me. But
did he say why?
He was just one of those guys that kind of walked to his own, beat up his own drum and kind of did his own thing, but he loved food, he loved wine, and that's how we kind of bonded. So he was definitely, gifted is just, he had the talent just jumps off the charts. But in terms of like leadership and he didn't realize the celebrity he was. I was telling Bull before the show, the year we all made the Pro Bowl, it's like 8 guys go to the Pro Bowl. And, the NFL pays for the flight. We're on a Southwest flight. Nothing against Southwest. And we're looking around like, where's Andrew? Maybe we're joking like, oh, he took the team's jet. And no, he comes walking in with a private security. He goes and sits down in the middle seat of a Southwest flight. And everyone recognizes
what he told me.
And it's just like, we land, he's getting mobbed by fans, pictures, the whole deal. And I tap him like, Andrew, do you realize you can go to Mr. Irsay right now and ask for the jet? He will do anything for you. He's like, no. Like, Andrew, please do this.
Get the jet for
like
us.
He didn't.
Yeah, so we can get on
process the concept of him being the face of
just
the league.
Right? Which is odd because his dad grew up in the NFL. He never had the stardom that Andrew had, but you would think that he would have seen his dad go through that life and be a little more acclimated.
We all respected it because he was very approachable. He was one of the guys, but he didn't want any special attention. And he could have asked for anything. The fact that he was getting beat up week in and week out from an offensive standpoint, because of the inability of the offensive line, he could have marched upstairs like, hey, Mr. Irsay, listen, I'm your golden ticket.
Yeah,
Either protect me or I'm out of here. And he just never had that.
Were you surprised that he walked away at the age he did?
Really?
No. Andrew, football to him was, because he was so gifted and so talented, he didn't need football. He never needed football.
Right.
He was so
He's Stanford
beyond.
smart.
Oh, yeah.
He's okay.
So above it. I mean, listen, I never felt like, and that was the issue in the front office, I think. And some players kind of looked at his leadership differently because it felt like at times he didn't need the game. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, when you don't need the game, you don't really care that you're getting beat up week in and week out. You start to question some things here.
Maybe it wasn't as important to him as it was to others.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I think he's a great guy. He's still a good friend of mine, but that was my own personal issue I had with him. He could have, put the hammer down when he needed to, and he didn't at times.
Was that the difference between, say, a Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck? Because the skill level with Andrew was clearly there. But with Manning and Brady and even Favre, their fire was, you just felt it. You felt it through the television set, and you could see that everybody on that offense felt it and feared them, really.
You're right. That's the only difference between a Peyton Manning, and I've never played with Peyton, but being in the building in Indy, you hear the stories about Peyton and the comparison, and maybe it's unfair because it's not Andrew's personality. So I've always thought, hey, if you understand that as a decision maker, go out and hire a pit bull on the offensive line that can get the other guys in line.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And it just never really correlated, but that was his only knock.
McNuggets, we want to do top 5 here?
Let's do top 5 and then quick what the internet is saying. So as always, our top 5 is sponsored by Roundstone Insurance. Roundstone offers a better alternative for affordable quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money up to 20%. Yeah, 20%. Wow. Contact us today to learn how you can get great health care benefits that your employees will not only love, but will help them save money too. Now, yesterday I sent you guys in the group chat that we were going to do some sort of
what happened here?
Basketball.
Yeah, this is way off target.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
What do you mean?
You said you were going to do something with college football or?
College football, basketball, and I changed it this morning because
curveball.
Well, yeah, because the Warriors won the NBA Finals last night, and we didn't have it in the show because we had too much other stuff. So this was a way to.
And besides,
sucks.
Why would we talk about the Warriors winning another championship?
Wow. Yeah. So
you got some salt for this open cut?
What do you say?
You have some salt for this open cut?
Well, this is the 5 best trophies in sports. So it's a way to give them a tiny bit of credit without ever talking about them whatsoever. So these are the 5 best trophies in sports. And
That's a good topic. I've never really thought about that.
Number 5, Steve. The old Crystal Ball National Championship college football trophy. I don't like the new one, but the old BCS Crystal Ball was a swaggy trophy.
It did have some bling to it.
I mean, I'm surprised nobody broke that in all them years, handing the ball to these guys. Usually it's a quarterback or a running back or some skilled guy that got the ball.
That's used to dealing with
You
don't want to give that to a lineman.
Yeah. Don't give it to me.
I'll say what's funny about that trophy is sort of like the Stanley Cup. It was mythical in that everywhere that it went, and they were constantly bringing that to sites during the college football season to show it off, like it would be at the Ohio State Michigan game or whatever. It would come to ESPN a lot. They had a person whose job for the year was to follow that trophy and to take care of it. It was in a box that was sealed with all this foam and everything, and then they would take it out, and he would have to shine it up before we ever put it on camera.
What do you do for a living? I'm the security guard for a trophy.
I'm the keeper of the trophy.
That's a great bit. Obscure jobs in sports.
Yeah.
Top 5 obscure jobs.
The guy that does the Stanley Cup has the best job because the legend of that trophy is that every player and coach on the winning team gets to have the trophy for a day.
Yeah.
So this dude gets to go to see some real behind-the-scenes stuff. Because what's happened to that, I hope that's your number 1 coolest trophy in sports.
How much you think they get paid to watch the crystal ball? How much you get paid a year?
I'd say that's probably in the 50 range. They're probably not valuing it as much as it really is. Because it doesn't
That would be
generate any
sought after.
revenue, you know? So it's just like,
I mean,
sought
for
after.
$50,000, I'm taking it home and, eating soup out of it.
I would almost volunteer to do the Stanley Cup thing for a year for free.
That sounds fun.
Just because you're going to go to some of the greatest parties. You're going to see some things that you won't be able to talk about.
I need a stipend. I at least need a per diem.
We'll pay your meals. All right, what's number 4?
Stanley Cup's coming, don't worry. But number 4, the trophy we want to see most in Cleveland, the Lombardi Trophy. My only issue with it is it gets smudged up. It gets super smudged.
Has it ever
immediately.
changed?
Fingerprints everywhere. It's not as clean as some
I
other
don't know.
trophies.
Has that changed? Because DeQuell just had asked Jason Lloyd's. Can you remember that if that was what it looked like when they handed out the first one? I'm sure it didn't look like that for the first one. Yeah, I'm sure it's
That's a
changed.
good. I need to look that up.
And besides, it certainly wasn't called the Vince Lombardi Trophy because he won the first one. But
everybody, I think if it's the most prestigious trophy, everybody want that one. That one is like, I asked somebody, what would you rather have, a golden jacket to the NFL Hall of Fame or one of those trophies, a Super Bowl ring? And people be like, I don't know, man, because that's a tough one to ask. A Super Bowl.
What would you rather have? Well,
You know what? I may rather be a Hall of Famer, only because years ago I did a signing during Super Bowl, and Jonathan Ogden was there, and what they were paying me was a stark difference than what he was getting paid. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's
this
an
is
industry.
What Hall of Famers
when you go to the Hall
get?
of Fame, that's an industry.
It was crazy. Almost six figures.
Wow, for a signing.
For one signing?
For 2 hours.
I've had Football Hall of Famers tell me that it's like you can run a bake sale whenever you want.
Yes.
So you literally can monetize it to whatever level you want.
Yes.
It's how many appearances do you want to do in a year? How many signings? How many card shows? How many events? And it's there for the taking.
Yes.
Wow. So I think
it's like that.
That's ridiculous.
From the business perspective, I think
perspective.
that is the smart play.
Yes.
I'm trying to find a picture of the first.
I always thought most.
That's it.
That's it.
That is it, but it looked gold.
That was made in 1967.
Wow.
Yeah, so they haven't changed it.
Wow.
For Pete Rozelle and Tiffany made it.
That could be a good
That's-
trivia.
So, because our executive producer Steve is off camera, you didn't hear what he said, so I'll repeat it. The current Super Bowl trophy is exactly the way it looked for the first one. Pete Rozelle, who was he the first commissioner of the NFL?
Yes.
So I knew he was a longtime commissioner. He was the first commissioner of the NFL. He sketched it on the back of a napkin.
Wow.
Somebody else did and gave it to him.
Oh, somebody else sketched it on the back of a napkin, gave it to. That's kind of how we drafted Johnny Manziel. and then he went to Tiffany and said, "Make this beautiful trophy," and the rest is history. That's number 4. What's
By the
number
way,
3?
I think most players, if they're totally honest, would say what DeQuell says, that they'd rather have the Hall of Fame than the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Because
I think almost every player would say that.
It's hit or miss with this. Like, championships are very overrated in sports to me.
Yeah,
Like,
I love.
very
overrated. You'd love to have both, of course.
Oh yeah, yes.
But
yes.
I love the people that are like, I'd rather be the last man on a championship team than the star of a bad team.
You crazy.
You're full of crap.
right.
You got a
I
real
don't want to
job
be the
now.
last man on a
I'll tell you what,
championship
every
team.
player knows you make the Hall of Fame, what that comes with. When the amount of revenue you can
and
bring
the
in.
club that it's like one of the most exclusive and coolest clubs on the planet. Number 3.
Number 3, the Commissioner's Trophy, a.k.a. what you win when you win the World Series. I didn't know it was called the Commissioner's Trophy.
Yeah,
but
I
that's an
did, but
awesome-looking
I'm just a
trophy.
weird baseball
It
geek.
shouldn't be, because the commissioner of baseball is a dope.
Yeah, and the sport hasn't
Hate
had a
that
lot
guy.
of commissioners that have been loved.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
What is this? Is this interesting trophy? Most prestigious
the coolest.
trophy? That's not the coolest trophy.
Let's move it along, because this is not the best list.
Yeah, thank you.
What's number 2?
Number 2.
I know what number 1 is, but what's number 2?
Number 2, the WWE Heavyweight.
No, get out
You
of
mean
here.
Bull's belt isn't on there? Our G.
my
Bush's
goodness.
belt isn't on there?
Oh my God.
My belt is the best
WWE.
belt.
That's better than the People's Champ belt.
I don't know. I got a hologram on that joint.
By the way,
You just lost me.
I know I'm going to get people mad with this. WWE is not sports.
No, it's entertainment.
They're athletes,
Yeah.
Come on, man.
but it's not a sport
No.
because the outcome
Tell the
is
Undertaker
determined.
that, Bull. Yeah, tell the Undertaker that.
The outcome is determined.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not a sport. They're
the
great
NFL,
athletes.
Imagine if the NFL players were actors and they were just going out there and choreographing.
Again, I don't take
result.
away from them their athletic ability.
They're very athletic.
A lot of those guys are great
entertainment.
athletes.
Do you guys remember when John Stossel was a reporter for 2020 and he was doing an interview with a big-time wrestler? I can't remember his name, but he said, who was it?
Dr. Death, Dave Schultz.
Dave Schultz. It was Dave Schultz. He said, what do you have to say about this? This is fake. And he hauls him off
smacked him right in the
and
head.
smacked him, and he cupped him in the ear and did damage. And he sued Schultz and won.
Yeah.
But he beat him up pretty good. And he said, is that fake? And he hit him again.
I loved wrestling when I was a kid. Loved it. But it's not a sport.
No, it's not a sport.
It can't be a sport if the outcomes of the
And number one is got to be the Stanley Cup.
Number one is the Stanley Cup. Yeah. And one of my all-time sports dreams, I want to chug a beer out of the Stanley Cup. I saw some NHL players do it in their post-game celebration. I don't know how I'll ever get
guys have probably had their butts in there.
This is post-COVID. Nah, man.
That's nasty.
Post-COVID.
The coolest thing about that trophy to me is the name of every player that's ever played for a Stanley Cup winning team is engraved in that trophy. Can you show that?
Can't read them.
Can you take another picture of it? You actually can. They're pretty small, but you can read them. If you call it up, that's why the trophy has all those layers to it.
Yeah, right.
You can see the original layer up at the top, and then they just keep adding layers down and down and down.
That's pretty cool.
By the way, it's not one of my favorite sports, but I instead of the stupid WWE, you should have had like the Wimbledon trophy.
What about
the
FIFA?
Heisman Trophy?
FIFA.
Heisman, yeah.
Where's
Can
the
we take
Heisman?
WWE?
The Heisman Trophy is a big miss on my end, hand up, but it was championship trophies, so I didn't consider necessarily the Heisman championship.
So what
it's
about
not a
Wimbledon?
championship trophy.
Wimbledon's a plate. Get out of here with that.
Yeah, that's not
cool
a good.
looking. I like
the
that.
green jacket is the only one that I didn't know if that was really considered a trophy or not. That was kind of where I fell.
It's just a gift. It's
considered a badge of douchiness.
The funny story on the Heisman Trophy, when Eddie George won the Heisman Trophy, I was working in Columbus, and when we were flying back, this is true. I think it was LaGuardia that we flew back from. They made him put the trophy through the X-ray machine, and it broke the hand. It broke the thumb.
What?
And they had to create another trophy for him and give it to him.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
He's freaking Eddie George. You shouldn't have to put
This guy, did you watch TV last night? Did you read a paper? This is the real, they put it through the X-ray machine and they broke it. That's a true story.
Some people just don't get it.
Post 9/11, he'd have got get patted down. And don't bring no water in there either.
Nuggets.
So we're doing a first here, a back-to-back ad read. This is for PCC Airflow is what the internet is saying.
Wow.
We have a big thing to tell you guys. But as always, why don't you guys look at PCC Airflows if you need anything to do with an airplane? Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airflows is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airflows in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions up to $18 an hour. Plus, get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. And the internet is saying they love DeQuell.
Of course they do.
For the first time in UCSS history, we've broken 3,000 live views in the first hour alone.
Wow. And you know
3,000 in the first hour alone.
What's odd about that is Friday's usually our least watched day.
Yep.
DeQuell, what are you doing next week?
Can we get him a private jet to Cleveland every Friday?
I don't need a private jet. No. I'll be back.
Get Andrew Luck on that. Where is he?
No. I'm not surprised at all by that because I told you this the very first time we had DeQuell on the show. Yep. When I was with ESPN, I was helping out with their NFL boot camp. And I can't remember if I met you with the NFL boot camp or the one we did that was just for the Browns.
I think it was for the Browns.
I think it was just for the Browns with Jerry Madelon.
Yep.
So we came in and Jerry, who was at ESPN and ran the boot camp, told me, talk to all the guys, get a sense of who can do this and who can't. And I don't know that I ever told you this, but when the players left, and there were a lot of players that had interest in doing broadcast. When they left, I told Jerry, I said, DeQuell Jackson is going to be a star in this business when he's done playing. Because he's smart, he understands how to give answers in 15-second bursts, and he says a lot of meaningful stuff. And I told Jerry at the time, I go, he's gonna be a star one day on camera.
And not only is DeQuell great with us and whatever he's doing in media-wise, but also he was popular when he was here. I mean,
hugely popular.
They didn't have a lot of players to root for.
Right.
DeQuell was one of the guys, like every week, I think I mentioned this one time, we did on our radio show, we did this segment, Good, Bad, and Ugly. right? And for the most part, your team was ugly.
Yeah.
I mean,
fair,
the team was ugly.
Fair.
But every week I'd be like, well, we could put DeQuell on the good list.
Right.
Yeah, he had 17 tackles this week, you know? It was like the one of like 5 guys you could rely on to play well every week, and the fans appreciated that.
And he's the only dude that pulled up with gifts. See,
That's true.
I'm waiting. Hey,
Maybe that's why.
But
I'm
he
getting all
pulled
the
up.
love.
Yeah, he pulled up. That's that mojo. Hey, Tim Couch. I'm gonna see what
Tim
you
hasn't
got.
been here yet.
No, when he comes in.
When you pull up.
I do feel like there should have been a parting shot, if you know what I'm saying.
We have shot glasses.
We do have shot glasses?
You want to pour one up?
Yep.
Can we do
Let's
a parting
it.
shot?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Anthony?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
We'll
Let's
do a
bring the
shot. We'll go to
glasses
break.
out.
I'm coming out.
Because DeQuell is DeQuell leaving after the first hour, or is he sticking around?
I thought he said he had to leave.
Yeah, I
but
got to
if he
catch a
wants
flight.
to stay,
unfortunately.
yeah, he's got to leave.
By the way, if they
I'm going to Something in the Water festival, and my wife was like, "You have to be
Okay,
back."
so you got to go.
Yeah.
All right, so we have four shots here for our parting shot.
All right.
Let's. Who though is going to open their bottle and
Right.
pour 4 shots out of it? Because I'm saving
Is it
mine.
open mine?
I'm saving mine.
I was going to use mine for a party.
Who wants the championship one?
Who's the 4th one for? Open
Wait,
yours,
wait.
Mike.
It is.
No,
it
it
is
was for Brad.
For
For Brad.
McNuggets.
Oh.
No,
He thought it was going to be for Brad Sellers, but Brad's not here today.
G, you want to open
Save it
yours?
for, no, you're
you
too
gonna
young.
make me open mine?
Well,
What look,
Open Brad.
open Brad. There you go.
big homie. Hey, big homie. Hey, listen. Plus, watch me if I got to go through Warrensville. I wasn't even drinking. This is a prop.
No, by the time you drink, or by the time you drive, it's going to be well over 2 hours from now.
Well, you know, Jay. Now I'm losing so much weight, it goes right to my bloodstream. You know.
Are these clean, Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah, I do want to point that out. None of us will be driving within the next 2 hours.
No.
So we're clear on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the cork top too.
Smells good. You want to smell that?
Oh yeah, I want to smell that too.
All right.
That sounded a little creepy, Jay.
Okay, that's smooth.
Maybe
That
we
is
want to do a
good stuff.
full
Okay.
shot.
That is
We don't want to.
Yeah, like a little shot.
This
That's
is probably
good.
the first time in history we're doing shots on air. By the way,
It might be the
Does
last
smell
too.
good.
Our boss Steve is over there going, I'm not watching this.
Is it?
This is okay,
Dude,
right?
that's the last one. Isn't it?
Where?
Shot glass yet?
Okay.
Hey, but we gonna. Hey, listen. Hey,
take that.
they said, listen. Hey, don't be bringing no more bottles up in here.
I'm gonna let DeQuell give the toast because
Yeah.
he's the guest and it's his scotch.
I want to say, thank you guys for embracing me. Thank you for the Cleveland community. And you know what? This show is going to be one that it sticks around for a very long time. And I appreciate
That's
the
all.
love.
Here, buddy.
Yes.
Bottoms up.
Cheers.
You can't do this on the radio.
Ooh, that's good. There's no pinch, no bite, very
That
smooth.
is
Very good.
I don't even drink it all because
That's
I
very
don't usually
good.
like alcohol. But
Stop
that was
playing
really
around.
good.
Y'all ain't no professional drinkers. Y'all better go get
That's
that
very
water.
good.
All right, we're taking a break. DeQuell,
The show's only going to get better.
a million thanks. Yeah, you don't want to miss the next hour, trust me. DeQuell, thanks,
She's
man.
going to be
Great
naked
to
by
see
the
you,
end of the
brother.
show.
Man.
More Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and who knows where it's going from here right after this.
That was awesome.
Cleveland sports to me is bigger than anything. It's bigger than some people's marriages. They say the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. No. Dallas is not America's team. Cleveland is America's team. And sports in Cleveland is a religion. It's a way of life. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter. Sports is a way for people in Cleveland to get together, and it's something that can't be replicated in Cleveland. Sports is a thing.
Recognize that feeling? It is the feeling of being together, enjoying the company of a familiar face, and sharing moments that matter to you, to me, to us. What matters to some could impact all of us, especially in a place like Northeast Ohio. Here, stories are shared from east to west to south. Stories of perseverance, of family, of love. If a story brings us together, it's what matters most.
News you can trust should be news you can rely on.
And every night at 11 on What's Next,
you can rely on us.
A new legal twist for Brown.
Today also marks the beginning of
Order here, and we are going to continue.
So the Guardians have to play almost. You can rely on us to help you go to bed better informed with stories that prepare you for tomorrow.
And with news that's relevant to your life. We'll make sure that you're ready for what's next.
Because being ready for tomorrow is what matters most.
Hey Cleveland, it's Adam the Bull. And if you love sports as much as I do, then you've got to be watching the new Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. But if you don't have 2 hours to watch it live or on YouTube, well, there's a podcast version, so you're in luck. Listen to it anytime, anywhere. We're doing things on this show that no one else is doing. We're getting crazy. Find out for yourself. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
Love it.
All right, we're back, and we're half in the bag. No, I'm totally kidding. Jason Lloyd from The Athletic.
I got the hookers and blow coming now. But, DeQuell brought the alcohol, and I got the hookers and blow.
We kid.
Well, Jason did do a column once about
Atlanta strip clubs.
prostitution.
Atlanta strip clubs at the Super Bowl.
He's become good friends with some of those
That's
ladies.
Right. Listen, whenever players say we're headed to Atlanta, I get nervous.
Yeah.
Because a lot of bad
Famous
shit goes
strip
down in Atlanta.
Yeah, but he did a whole column. He did a column about.
I remember it.
It was an amazing column.
It was great. It really
was so good.
Because you know why that was so good? If you're inside that culture, like if you're in the media or if you're a professional athlete, you know exactly what you were writing about. Right. But a lot of the fans have no idea.
Yeah, clue. Yeah.
They have no idea, but they do now.
That was wild. It was one of the wildest stories of my career.
Yeah, that's a great example of pulling back the curtain. Okay, we're going to change gears a little bit. I think that this is important because the Guardians are playing so well right now.
Yeah.
And we're all so Brown-centric.
Yeah.
And we understand that that's what the fans really want to talk about. But, guys, if you're not paying attention right now to what the Guardians are doing, you're missing it. They've won 9 of 11. They just finished a sweep of the Rockies. I think they've won 4 in a row. But you look at the standings, and now they're 5 games over 500, 32, 27, and 27. And there's 2 games behind the Twins.
It's crazy.
2 games behind the Twins. And there was a lot of talk if this team could even be 500 this year. And I know it's a long year, and they could still finish below 500. But, Jason, the news yesterday that Major League Baseball has approved David Blitzer as a minority owner for the Guardians. He's going to own somewhere between 25 and 30% with the option to have controlling interest in about 7 years, I think. Talk about what that means for our fan base, why we should be excited about that, and what your hopes are for where we're going.
Yeah, so it's been expected for a while, right? We've heard Blitzer's name for a while. And so this wasn't so much of a surprise yesterday. And I think what the good news for this is, you know, the way it was explained to me a few months ago was don't expect David to come in and start writing checks to cover losses. Like, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
But his acumen is in real estate. And so the plan now is really to develop the land around Progressive Field. And going back to the lease negotiations, when they were talking about extending the lease, I was told by multiple people that was a really big deal to the Dolans, was trying to figure out how to monetize the area around Progressive Field, which is difficult because they don't own any of it.
Right.
And we know the financial limitations of this ownership group. They're not going to go out and start buying all the buildings. So how do we figure this out? And Zach Maslow and I at The Athletic just canvassed the entire area. And one of the things I said was, when they built this, the garage made a lot of sense. Now it's terrible. Like it's taken up a lot of really valuable real estate to have this garage. So I think the plan is going to be try and do something with the garage, peel a couple layers off, whatever, and redevelop some of that land around Progressive Field. So this is a long-term play. This isn't Blitzer's here. Right. Here's $30 million. Go get Garrett Cole. Or whatever.
But he's got a lot more money than the Dolans have.
Let me ask you this, though.
Do
you get the sense that he's in this for the profit in the real estate ventures and what surrounds? Or do you think, because I'm told he is a major baseball guy.
Yeah, and they've got, and him and Josh Harris comes with him on a lot of these deals. Like, they work together. Harris is the primary owner on the 76ers.
Right.
Josh, to my knowledge, is not part of this deal yet. I wonder if he will come on when the Dolans slide out.
Sure.
Or at some point, but as of now, Josh is not part of this
So
deal.
they are sliding out.
He's co-owner.
Eventually, yeah.
Wow. He's the co-owner of the 76ers and also, I believe, the
Soccer.
Devils. The New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
He's got interest
got
in
soccer teams.
for sure.
There's a lot.
And he's also a minority owner in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I didn't even know that. Blitzer
That's true.
That's,
He's the only person to have at least a minority stake in all 5 professional
five
sports
counting
leagues.
soccer. Yeah. So he's well funded. He's got a ton of money. I know. Look, and do you remember when we found out that Jimmy Haslam was a former minority owner in the Steelers? We thought, hey, finally, come on over. Let's bring the blueprint. And it never worked out that way.
It's funny. Jimmy told us at the owners' meetings, we were talking to him, and he said, we thought it was easy. You know, like they had Roethlisberger, Kevin Colbert, and Mike Tomlin in the 3 most important positions. We were being sized for Super Bowl rings before we wrote the equity check. And no, it didn't prepare us. So that doesn't necessarily mean,
Yeah.
But
I found it interesting, though, that he's also invested in the Steelers.
What I think is very fascinating about this, and this is my hope long term, and maybe when Blitzer becomes the eventual owner, is that we know that the Guardians get good TV ratings.
Mm-hmm.
They always have. I actually don't know for what they are right now, like the last month or so.
It's been a little wonky with just the deals and people can't see the games.
Right, I know it's strange. But overall, for the past decade,
Cleveland traditionally has done fairly well with their local TV ratings.
So we know there is interest, especially the older fan base, right? But a lot of people have stopped going to games because they're like, the team doesn't spend, so why am I going to spend to go to a game?
Also, I think the name change had a lot to do with this year, why we're seeing such low attendance this year. Bull, I know you may not believe this, but I've talked to at least 4 longtime season ticket holders, and all 4 of them said, we're out.
I mean,
and so those are
that
season
is
ticket
the
holders.
dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Listen, it's a personal choice.
I hear you.
You may not agree with it, but it's their money, it's their choice.
Sure.
And I think to ignore that as not being a factor for attendance, I think is burying your head in the sand.
Right, but there's nothing you do at this point. So.
Not now, no.
Right.
But I just bring that up as I think the lack of spending has been a deal for 10 years, 15 years.
Yes.
But now you've given them another reason not to go to game. Look, this team is competitive.
Yeah.
And it's a good baseball market. You always bring up the 445 or whatever it was consecutive sellouts, yet now we sold out 1 game all year.
But even when they were a World Series contender, their attendance was terrible.
In 16,
right?
it was
awful.
way in the bottom half of the league.
And my hope is that eventually they'll spend, eventually they'll start keeping more of their good players like Jose Ramirez down the line,
right?
And that will eventually encourage
Jay,
people
do
to
you
go
think
to
we can
games
ever get back to the days of 2 million fans and all these consecutive sellouts? Because Cleveland has lost a ton of population. Not just since 95, but if you go back historically, I think about 100 years ago, Cleveland was the 3rd or 4th largest metropolitan area in the United States.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near that now.
I don't know that baseball will ever hit those numbers in Cleveland again. I think it was a perfect storm of events. The Browns leaving, obviously. The Cavs were good, but when you talk about the LeBron factor, LeBron created a generation of basketball fans in Cleveland that previously didn't exist.
And we had an all-star lineup.
Yeah, and the lineup was just unbelievable that they had in the late 90s. So I don't know. I've wondered for years if Cleveland can support 3 teams. How long do we have the economic ability? Sherwin-Williams bringing its headquarters downtown, I think, is a really big deal.
Right.
And we need more of that. We need more companies bringing headquarters and getting tax abatements, whatever, to keep jobs downtown, to bring industry downtown, business downtown. That'll help. But I have serious long-term concerns about. But the good thing is, they just extended the lease on Progressive Field.
Right.
The Browns aren't going anywhere, and the Cavs are committed to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse with all the renovations they just did. But financially, it's a tough go for Cleveland to support 3. So I don't think Cleveland will ever see the baseball numbers that we saw in the late 90s.
Jason, do you believe that eventually, because of Blitzer, they will have a consistently higher payroll?
I think that's fair.
Which could make a difference.
They can't go lower.
Yeah, I agree. It's never going to be $2 million.
But again, it's not going to be next year. It's not going to be. I think, and I think I made this mistake too. When John Sherman came in, you could follow where the payroll went up and where the payroll went down when Sherman went in and when he came out.
That's exactly right.
But the way it was explained to me was it was really more the BAMTech money that shot it up.
Oh, really?
And then when the BAMTech money ran out is when it came back down. So it was really just sort of coincidental that that's when John came in. And I've talked to people in all sports who say, like, listen, being a minority owner, really, it's just an ego stroke. It just gives you a little juice to tell people that you are part owner of a team, but you have no say in decision making. You're not in part of the meetings, of the really important meetings of, should we trade this guy? Should we?
You're just writing checks.
You're just writing checks.
Without making decisions.
Yeah, and it kind of gets you on the other side of the ropes, but that's really it.
What I like about this deal, though, is it's structured in such a way where each year he will have more interest.
Yeah.
Until eventually, 7 years from now, he'll have over the threshold of 50%, and that's when he can have real impact. But I do think, Jason, that he can still have an immediate impact, if for no other reason, for him to throw more money into the payroll scene. When you look at this team, Jay, how many guys is this team away from being able to make a run? Look at where the Braves were last year on August 10th. And nobody on August 10th said they're going to win the World Series.
Right.
This team has the pitching to do that.
Same thing when the Nationals won the World Series.
And the Nationals,
they were
you're
terrible
right.
that year.
And so I know from a distance it looks like this is the Yankees and the Mets and a collision course in October. But gosh, it's baseball. Anything can happen. They absolutely have to be buyers at the deadline.
Oh, they are.
They cannot be sellers.
They have nothing to
this
sell.
Record,
first of all, what are they going to sell?
I disagree. I think they have a ton of prospects in the system, young, talented guys.
Right.
I mean, they don't have
but
that
he's talking about
blue
selling.
chip. Yeah, they don't have that blue
selling.
chip.
We're talking about veterans that you.
Yeah, but you could still unload 4 of these prospects. You know what I'm saying? So
right, but when you talk about selling at the deadline, you're selling your veterans.
Yes,
to
but you can not sell without buying. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to be one or the other. I think this year they're going to move some of these pieces.
They have to
get maybe 2 or 3 of the missing links because they're clearly missing a bat or 2.
I think they need 2 legitimate middle of the lineup bats.
I agree with that.
So I've talked about this ad nauseum. They're going to be buyers regardless of what the standings look like because of the 40-man roster construction right now. They had to jam 11 prospects onto the 40-man in advance of the Rule 5 draft, which baseball didn't even have. Baseball totally screwed Cleveland by not having the Rule 5 draft. And I get it, logistically, after the lockout, there just wasn't enough time. But, you know, the Guardians never would have put Jhonkensy Noel on the 40-man had they known there wasn't going to be a Rule 5.
They had very few options.
But the flip side to that is the fact that there was no Rule 5. A guy like Oscar Gonzalez is still here because he probably would have been lost to the Rule 5 draft. So the way that, I wrote about this last week, to boil this down, and there you sort of see it, this is my understanding, this is the infield of the future. This is their thought process.
I don't like Naylor
going forward.
I don't love him defensively at first base.
Terrible. Well, he can't. You can't play him in the outfield. It's got to be.
Can't.
It's the outfield experiment is over. If Josh Naylor's in Cleveland, he's going to be at first base. Now that's not to say they pursued Matt Olson in the offseason, but as we stand now, this is the way it looks going forward. They like Naylor at first. They like Jimenez at second. Gabriel Arias is, as of now, that's how they view their up the middle is Jimenez at second.
That's a pretty damn good infield.
That's if Arias lives up to expectations, and we're seeing Jimenez grow into it, and obviously you have Jose at third. Okay, so what's that mean? Well, you have Brian Rocchio in the minors, you have Tyler Freeman in the minors, you have Ahmed Rosario sort of getting hot a little bit right now.
He is finally
playing better at short.
He doesn't have that much trade value.
No, but he has more at short than he does in the outfield. That's why they're leaving him at short.
Right.
If you put him in left field, he has 0 trade value. So by keeping him at short, you at least build a little bit of trade value there. And Rosario's probably going to be moved. I would think he'll be moved by the July deadline. And maybe you see Arias is still out. He's rehabbing from a fractured hand.
Will he be back by July or August?
I think right in that window.
Because that makes it even more likely that Rosario's gone.
I think if they can find a good deal for Rosario, I think he's gone. So these are some – and Owen Miller's their tricky one because they really like him. He was batting cleanup not that long ago.
Right, I know.
So now they got to figure out a spot for him. They've talked about possibly
Oscar Gonzalez, too. I mean, gosh, he's getting it done.
We got to be careful, though, by saying a guy's a definite starter based on a couple of
I don't
weeks.
look at stats.
Yeah.
I really don't, and I don't know that you do either. When I see a pitcher can be 1-5 with a 6 ERA. If he has good stuff, he has good stuff. And he's learning how to pitch at the big league level.
Right.
The reason I'm excited about Oscar Gonzalez, forget the numbers, forget him. I just look at his at-bats. I look at his swings. I look at how he puts the bat on the ball. He hits to all field. I think the guy's a ball player.
Yeah, it's weird because the scouting report on Gonzalez was free swinger, some holes in his swings, but a ton of power. We haven't really seen
the power, but
and all his team has is a bunch of singles hitters.
Right.
So you'd like to see him hit for some
So
power.
it's still so early. Like him and Quan, I don't include in this because we just don't know.
Right.
There's just too much unknown, and they are going to make deals. They could go get a pitcher. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they go and acquire a starter, but they do need an impact bat. I agree. They have the pieces to get it done. They have to rebalance this 40-man. They know they do. They're under the gun a little bit. I've had conversations with them where they say, like this year, if we're in this position next year, we're going to have problems just because there's so many prospects.
What are they going to do with Bieber, ultimately?
I think they trade him.
Do you?
I don't think they trade him this year.
Not this year.
But I think they could be this
I think they're going
winter.
to trade him this offseason.
Well, if you trade him this year, you're kissing any playoff success
I don't
out
think
the
they trade him
window.
now. I think it's really possible they move him this winter because if you look at it, they were having conversations with Jose, and if Jose didn't take the deal that was offered to him, or if he didn't come way down, he wouldn't be here today, and he had 2 years of control left.
Right, yeah.
And they made that mistake with Frankie.
I was just going to say, what did the Frankie experience
That's
teach
exactly
the
it.
Indians
He still
moving
got a
forward?
decent return.
They did not what they could have got
But
for Frankie.
not for what they could have got, and had they known a pandemic was coming, they would have dealt.
How did they not see that coming?
I think if they can't sign Bieber this offseason, which is unlikely,
they're not going to.
No, I don't think they are.
Then he's got to be traded this offseason.
The advanced numbers on Shane, as much as people kind of roll their eyes at it, but some of the velocity and spin rate,
it's down a little bit.
It very
I'm a little
much
concerned.
There's a lot of people that are a little bit.
And by the way, the bottom line on the line. First of all, the team is overachieving. I think.
Let's say this: they've been beating a lot of bad teams.
They have.
So let's see what happens when they go through the American League East.
And I think they're very aware of that.
Yeah, they are.
They are very aware of where they are in this process, and they can compete in their division.
Yeah.
They can
Division
compete.
stinks.
They can compete with. The middle of the pack when they know they're punching way out of their weight class.
When you get 19 against the Royals and the Tigers,
right?
you're going to rack up wins.
When you're going against the Yankees and the Blue Jays and stuff, they know they're punching out of their weight class.
So when do you say, all right, I'm going to pay attention? At what point do they have to get to in the standings, and what time of the year for you to say, well?
I think they're there now. You should be paying attention to this team.
As far as legitimately a contender making the playoffs,
they're gonna hang around in this division race all year. And I mean, Chicago to me is the most talented team in the division. It's not even close. But they've had a ton of injuries,
and they've underachieved.
For sure. They've underachieved.
But you know what the beauty of baseball is? This is why I love it so much. Yeah. In the NBA, if you squeak into the playoffs, you're done.
Yeah, no chance.
In the NFL, I mean, I know wild cards have won it, so it's possible for a team to go 9-7 or 10-7
But if you don't have a quarterback, you got no chance.
Right, but you usually know that. But I got to tell you, with baseball,
anybody can win.
Anybody can win, and the Braves proved that again last year, and they did that without their best player. I mean, they on August 10th, I believe they were under 500.
Right. So
nobody would have ever imagined that the Braves were going to put together the run they did.
Right.
Particularly when you got to get through the Dodgers and the gauntlet that can be the National League. So just get in and give us a chance.
And that's why you have to add to the lineup, because the reality is, in terms of we can be all excited about this prospect and that prospect. What we know is, to this point, the Guardians have not developed hitters. They have not.
No.
And Jose Ramirez is the only player in their lineup that is a proven better than average. Nobody else in their lineup is better than average. And a lot of those guys are not even average.
Do you agree with that, Jay?
Who's better than average?
I think they're so young.
Right. I'm talking about proven.
But here's what I would say in terms of
who's their second best player?
Developing Jimenez, probably.
I would say Jimenez too.
He
but
is an average major leaguer at best.
He's 24.
No, he's not. He's got so much upside, Bull. His numbers.
I'm talking about
I'll guarantee
proven.
I will guarantee you that his numbers are definitely in the top half of major league shortstops right now. And because he's so young, and Naylor too. You look at these guys, and you remember Wade Boggs didn't make Major League Baseball until he was like 26 years old.
Yeah.
So if these guys continue to improve, it's hard to say, well, they're not developing anybody.
Well, but it is not hard to say because they haven't developed any.
The current crop of guys are so young.
I agree.
I even throw Gonzalez in that
but
list.
But who have they developed in the last 6-7 years?
So
their track record's bad.
Here's what I think you're going to see. At some point here in the last 5 years or so, I think there was an organizational shift in how they scouted and identified talent. And they went, first of all, with pitchers, they went to control and thought they could teach velocity. Let's find, and Bieber's a perfect example of that. Now, I know the velocity's dropped a little bit this year.
Right.
But find guys who can command, and we can teach them speed. And with hitting, you're seeing it with find guys who can put the bat on the ball, and we'll develop the other things. And the Dominican, the academy, that really hasn't, outside of Jose, which, he pays for it himself.
Sure.
They really haven't developed a whole lot of talent out of there. Oscar Gonzalez came out of there. You're seeing that now. Jose Tena, a guy in the minors, is getting close. He's one of those guys that is on the upper tier, top 10 type prospect guy who came through that academy. So you're starting to see George Valera is another one this wave of guys. I think I agree with you. To this point, they have not developed hitting
right,
at all.
We've heard about other prospects year after year.
And they have to trade
I'm not
for
saying
them.
they're not going to pan out.
But their pitcher
yes,
development
they've
has
been great at pitcher development.
They've been best in the
major
league.
And I'm not saying Jimenez and Naylor at some point might not be better than that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what they've proven.
No,
to
you're
this
right.
point.
And
Their
plus,
track record.
and plus, all the hitters have come through trade.
Right.
You know, Jimenez,
Yes.
Naylor, even in going back. In terms of developing homegrown hitters that they identify,
Except
draft,
Ramirez.
and develop, obviously Manny Ramirez, Jim Thome, but you're going back 30 years
Yeah,
now.
you're right.
They're just outside of Jose, they just haven't had that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
we're going to go to, we're going to do King of the Land,
King
right?
of the Land, yes.
So-
and as always, King of the Land is sponsored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame Village in conjunction with the USFL. The playoffs are next weekend, so get your tickets for the USFL playoffs and championship in Canton on June 25th and July 3rd. Now tickets are on sale today at halloffamevillage.com. We have Coach Skip Holtz coming up in just a second, but first it is time for King of the Land, and Jason is in the throne today. Jason, what sport are you fixing?
The
as
NBA.
King of the Land.
The NBA.
Okay.
Now I have two. Am I allowed to give two? One's somewhat realistic, and one is coming up on a drunken bender. Things that you think of.
That one's going to be the better one.
Things that you would love to happen but never will.
One thing I would love to see as we broadcast on YouTube, I would love to see an NBA game with no announcers. Put it on YouTube. Boom mics all over the floor, and all you hear is what's happening on the court.
They
That would
tried.
be cool.
They tried that in football once. Remember?
No.
The announcerless booth. They tried that maybe 15 years ago.
I think if you do
Didn't
it on
go over so well.
Basketball, I think, would be better.
But as someone who sat courtside for many, many years and many, many big games, to see the interactions, at first I was thinking mic up all the players, but that might just be too much.
There'd be a lot of things said that.
That's
the
why you
league
got to put it on
wouldn't want
YouTube.
associated
That's why
with
you
its
got to put it on
product.
YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, but still, no, I'm saying the league wouldn't want, because a lot of kids watch.
Yes.
And there are a lot of things said on an NBA court that the league does not want kids to hear.
It is just absolutely fascinating,
It is fascinating.
to be able to sit courtside and the interaction of players to coaches, coaches yelling at players, what they say to each other, the interaction with the officials, I think would be fascinating. The one that's just nuts that I love the MTV Rock and Jock games back in the day.
Those are fun.
I want a 4-point shot, but I want it on a 16-foot hoop. A hoop 16 feet in the air that will change the dynamic of the
I'd
game.
watch that.
So it's not, I mean, Steph can make it from half court, but can he make a 16-foot in the air shot?
Them Rock and Jock games, the what is it, the Slammers and the Rockers? Or
Yeah, those were fun.
And they would have like
Bricklayers.
10-point shots.
Yeah, they'd have all kinds of cool
from
rules
half
that
court.
made it more interesting.
I want a 16-foot rim
25.
above the 10-foot
Okay.
rim that's worth 4
I'm not
points.
sure that'll ever happen, but I would maybe behind a paywall for the NBA. So there's a subscription-based fee. That way you can try to weed out kids.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you sit courtside
Wanna
in
hear
an
cursing
NBA game,
and
it is
talking trash.
Talking
absolutely
trash.
another product.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
a totally
We
different
got
game.
Skip Holtz.
All right, so you mentioned the USFL. So what they're doing is really fascinating. They're taking the viewer inside the huddle. Players are mic'd. The USFL playoffs, I think this is also very interesting. They're kind of doing it like college basketball in the Final Four.
Yep.
There's a predetermined site, and we're lucky enough to have the USFL Final Four right up the road at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. So they're going to have the 2 semifinal games next Saturday, and then the championship game will be July 3rd, which is the following weekend. And for those of you that haven't been following, the semifinals will be the Philly Stars against the New Jersey Generals. The Generals are 8-1. And then in the other semifinal game, which is the night game, the 8 o'clock start next Saturday, it's New Orleans, the Breakers, against the Birmingham Stallions, who are also 8-1. And then I mentioned the title game will be July 3rd on Sunday at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Stadium. Right now, we're joined by the coach of the Birmingham Stallions. Not just the coach. He's the head coach. He's the offensive coordinator. He's the general manager. Wow. I'm not sure if he's also in charge of concessions, but he does it all. Skip Holtz, the coach of the Birmingham Stallions, joins us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Coach, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me for sure. And there's no doubt with that introduction, I bit off way more than I can chew. I had no idea what I was getting into until I got here and thought, man, what am I doing? What was I thinking?
What has your first year experience been like?
It's been awesome. Absolutely loved it. I mean, it has been, I used the analogy the other day. It's almost like you take 50 players, and talented players, and you say you have to take this football class. And if you want to keep playing, you want to continue your career, you got to make an A. So you walk into this meeting room and you pull it out and you say, okay, when we're in this formation, I mean, everybody's pulling out notepads, paper, writing feverishly. Coach, now when the linebacker walks out, I mean, they are into it. And I have really enjoyed it. I think it has been a breath of fresh air with coaching for sure. So I've really enjoyed this first year, and some of the new rules and some of the things the USFL has done has certainly made it unique.
You know, Coach Holtz, I always ask the some of the coaches on. We had Coach Jeff Fisher on, and I asked him the same question. In terms of what you're looking to do, what is your goal here with the players? A lot of the players want to get to the next level. What is your main goal and focus in terms of what you would look to accomplish as a coach here in the USFL?
Well, one of the things, I got into college coaching 33 years ago because I love the development side of this game. I love watching the young man come in at 17 years old and leave at 22, watching how he matures as a football player, matures as a student, as a leader. I enjoyed the development side of college football and always said I didn't want anything to do with pro ball. But when you look at the direction of college football right now, it's with the NIL, with the transfer portal, everybody's recruiting, everybody's players, they're in, they're out. It's no longer the same game that I signed up for 33 years ago. When I sat down and talked with Brian Woods about what this league was all about, that's the one thing that I loved about it. What I want is I want to help these young men achieve their goal, whether that is to go play in the NFL, whether that is just because they love the game and they want to play for another 2, 3, or 4 years and they're going to be career USFL guys. I love the competitive side. I love the balance and the equality and the way that they did the draft. I just think it's a great league, and I enjoy coaching, and I have enjoyed the relationships with the young men the most. Where does that lead? I don't know. I didn't get into this with I'm going to use this as a stepping stone, and this is next. I've been doing this for a long time, and so right now I'm enjoying what I'm doing. We'll see what bridges come in front of us as we continue to move forward, but if I end up continuing to do this for another 3 or 4 years, it can be very rewarding.
Coach, did you have, like, going into the season, going into the league year, did you have a level of play that you thought it would be? And is it better? Is it worse? Is it what you thought it would be? Did you not think ahead into, like, how good the quality of play would be? How does it stack up?
No, and much better than I expected. And I won't say that in a negative way. That my expectation wasn't very high. I didn't have any idea what to expect. I mean, in February, we're talking about playing this game in April, and we go player on our roster. And then I didn't know who my quarterback was, running backs. So then you draft a team in March. We bring them in here in March 17th, and you play April 17th, and all of a sudden you're looking at it. I've never seen our running backs get tackled. I've never seen our defense tackle anybody. And everybody said, "What do you expect?" I have no idea what to expect, but I'll tell you what, it has been much better than I could have ever imagined. And I say that because a group of young men have come in and they have been diligent, they have been determined, they have been focused, it is a good product on the field. It doesn't look like it was slapped together, and that's a real testament to the coaches that are in this league and the commitment and the focus of the players that have got into it and how bad they want to continue playing and get film to have that opportunity to continue the game.
Skip, we've seen these leagues emerge and last a couple of years and then fold. So what has to happen this time for the USFL to succeed and survive?
Well, I think once we hit the 7th game, we exceeded any other spring football league going all the way back to the 80s when the USFL did it for 3 years.
Wow.
And then the USFL left and kind of they tried to go to the fall model to compete with the NFL. I think one of the unique things that's going to make this work is the involvement of Fox and NBC. I think they're both committed to it. They're both committed to a spring football league. They're not trying to take over the NFL. They're trying to create another platform. There's so many players. The NFL has got great players. Nobody will dispute that. But there's a lot of guys that can play at that level. They just don't have an opportunity to continue playing once their college eligibilities are up. And this is going to give a young man an opportunity to grow and develop and hopefully either get into the NFL one day or play this game professionally. And as you go through it, these guys are going to make $50,000 to $60,000 over a 4-month period to have an opportunity to continue to play the game that they love. And so I think the Fox and NBC understands the niche they want. They are willing to make a commitment to it. And like I said, there has not been another spring league past 6 games. And so we're in uncharted waters right now when you start talking about what's the offseason going to look like. And I think they've done a great job of putting this model together where everybody was in Birmingham. There was no travel. We're all in the hotel together. We're all playing at the same spots. I think it was really a great model. But I think what's going to be really interesting is in a year or 2 years when all of a sudden these franchises getting sold out until their home teams. And then I think that's when you're really going to have an opportunity to see this thing get on its feet and take wings and really start to sprout. But right now I think it's all about building a foundation, and Fox and NBC and the leaders here in the USFL and Moose Johnson and Brian Woods are doing a great job with it.
Skip, the production has been terrific. When you watch the games on NBC and Fox, it looks like you're watching an NFL game just in terms of the camera angles you're getting, the commentating that you're getting. It's all, NFL caliber stuff. And then the other stuff, the production elements, the mic'd players, that's what I most love about
cool.
it. And some of the cameras that are on the field while the game is going on, I think that's really added to it. But last week we had Jeff Fisher on, and I proposed to him an idea. I know that this year everything was centrally played in Birmingham, but I think one of the things that's difficult for fans in New Jersey, particularly because they didn't have any home games, is not having a connection with any players on the roster. So I pitched to Jeff as a possible idea that each team has to have half of their roster or a number with 30%, 40%, whatever, that come from within a circumference of Birmingham. So in your case, it would benefit you greatly. You could have a lot of Alabama and Auburn guys. So I know you, yes, right? I know you like it, but I think so. And I know that Michigan has a former Michigan quarterback, but I think one way to get these fan bases to really care is to give them players that they already have an investment in because they've played regionally college football, and we get to know them and they're stars and we feel attachments to them. I know there's not a team in Columbus or Cleveland, but if there were, and you were to load that team up with Buckeyes, I think it would have an inherently better chance of succeeding just because the fan base knows who they're dealing with. What do you think of that?
I would agree with that. I think it certainly is a hook and a tie to bring people into the game. I know we drafted Bo Scarborough here, who played at Alabama, and he's a rock star. I mean, we can't go anywhere without everybody wants to find Bo. Where's Bo? Where's Bo? Just because he has such name recognition and familiarity with the state of Alabama with him playing at Alabama. And so I think there's definitely something to what you said for viewership. As far as the production's off the charts. Somebody told me that for an NFL playoff game, there's like cameras that are on an NFL playing a playoff game, where we have like 51 cameras.
Wow.
I mean, every official's got a helmet cam, players got helmet cams. There's a drone flying by your head when you're standing on the sideline, going all over. I mean, the production has been off the charts, and it's certainly, you were mentioning having the opportunity to do something on YouTube where everybody's mic'd up and you can hear what's going on the field. That's kind of what's going on right now. Every play you call, your offense is heard by everybody. I mean, so it's very hard when you go to the line and your quarterback checks and 11 guys go to the right side of the field. It's like, okay, they know what we're doing at this point. Everybody knows our offensive calls at this point. So maybe we ought to look at changing some of these.
The Patriots got in a lot of trouble for knowing what the other team was going to do.
Hey, Skip, last thing, Lou, your father, Lou, of course, is he like calling you after every game? Is he breaking down film with you? Is he analyzing how you did as coach that day? What's going on with that?
No, see, he's going to come he'll be up in Canton for the championship game. He had a back surgery right before the season started, so he has not been able to be here in Birmingham, but watches every game, and we have the opportunity to talk on the TV. And I value his input. When you've got a guy that's been as successful as he has and been around the game as long as he has, it'd be foolish not to sit and listen to his advice. So, and he tells me, it's like, you know what, hug your defensive staff and then call me and I'll let you know what I think, when we play real well on defense. But it's been great, and I'm looking forward to him having the opportunity to get up to Canton to be able to see our playoff game with New Orleans on the 25th.
I'm going to drop a couple nickels on you, Skip, to win the semifinals and the championship, and here's why. Guys, Skip coached extensively at the collegiate level, UConn, South Florida, I know, and some other stops. He coached in 12 BS, the big games. BSC?
BCS.
No, not the BCS.
BCS.
Okay,
Yeah.
BCS, I guess. 12 bowl games.
Yeah.
Coach, your record's 8-3 in these big games. So I'm betting on you in the semifinals and the championship to win these, because whatever your secret formula is for winning these big games, you certainly have figured it out. So I'll throw a couple nickels on Birmingham in both of those games. And one other thing, I was lucky enough to work with your dad at ESPN for more than a decade. Without question, the most colorful, fun guy to talk to out of everybody that was up there. And a quick story, I told him that my father, who I lost in 2008, was a huge fan of Lou Holtz in Notre Dame. And he asked me, what was your dad's name? This was still when my father was alive. He said, what was your dad's name? I said, it was Chuck. The next time he came to campus, he had a book signed to my dad and gave it to my dad. And I saw Lou do countless acts of kindness just like that for a million different people. Your dad is just an incredible, incredible man, and I just wanted to commend you on being lucky to have a father like Lou, because one of a kind. Absolutely one of a kind.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And a big reason I've been able to have success, teachers like Lou Holtz. That's one of the reasons
it doesn't hurt.
I've been able to have success on the field, for sure. So I appreciate kind words. I agree with you 100%. He's a great man, and he is sharp as a tack mentally.
He is.
He's doing fantastic. We just got to keep him going physically. And this surgery that he went through. But I appreciate your kind words.
Absolutely. Give him our best, and Coach, good luck in the semifinals and then the championship game if you get there, and on to next season at the USFL.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Ready to get out of some of this heat, but
I bet.
I really like your idea. I really like your idea of having everybody play geographically with us sitting here in the middle of the SEC region.
Yeah, I bet you do.
It's a great idea, and I promote it.
Just for what it's worth, Fisher just didn't like it at all. He's up there in Michigan.
Nah, I'm cool.
Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Right,
we appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Really good football coaching. Think about that. Jason and I were looking at each other when he was saying we didn't have any players until March 17th, and then we had a game 4 weeks later. He is the general manager, the offensive coordinator, the head coach. He's doing it all, and it really speaks to his football acumen, because they're 8-1.
You gotta love football to be doing what they
Woo!
Like to be out there just putting that work in.
No kidding.
And you can tell the passion just come off the page when you talk about football.
Really crazy stuff.
Right.
What do you want to do?
Good
here?
bet, bad bet.
Do you want to do
good bet, bad bet? We're going to do final takes, and we're going to say goodbye.
Do you want to
to
break
this great
between the two,
Friday.
or do you want to go right through? Okay.
No, we got nothing to change.
All
We're
right.
rolling.
Beautiful.
Shout out to the people, by the way. Over 4,500 live views already.
There you
today.
go.
I'm not sure if
Nice.
that's a record.
Yeah.
That's an absolute smashing record on a Friday.
Yeah, that's a big
And
number,
we're just
man.
getting started. This is just the beginning. G. Bush said it as his final take
Wait till
yesterday.
football
But if you
season.
are not on the UCSS train yet, you better hop on quick.
Yeah, you better
This
hurry.
bad boy is taking off to the moon.
Yeah, we're going,
ASAP.
baby.
So let's talk a little good bet, bad bet. Everyone went 2-1 yesterday, from Polk to Jay, top to bottom. No one picked up any ground. Steve, let's take the overall standings here in a sec. As it stands, G. Bush still the most wins with 41, but Bull is quickly catching up. And Jay, you're not far behind.
We're
but
really
Polk's still
close.
Nobody under
percentage points
500
ahead.
of the six of us.
No.
I know. So if we were throwing, because we're picking against the spread, obviously.
Yeah.
So if we were going to jacks, if betting was legal, we'd all be
doing all right,
making money.
Doing decent.
All right. So what are this week's today's picks?
Today's picks, first and foremost, the Guardians, 1.5 run underdogs for the first time in a while at Steve. That's we may have sent them in the wrong order. We'll start with this one, though. Let's start here. A&M, 1.5 run underdogs versus Oklahoma, game 1 of the College World Series.
I flipped the coin on this one.
We went to college
I flipped the coin on this one. I've seen 2 college baseball games all year.
Softball's so much better. I know softball better than baseball.
Well, I had Tennessee to win it all, and when Notre Dame upset them and knocked them out, I'm like, I don't know what
I took Oklahoma because they're at home, right? Isn't it? Don't they play?
Well, it's nearby. Yeah, it's Tulsa, right? Is that where they or Omaha?
Omaha.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
the
kinda
softball
close to
is
Oklahoma.
Yeah,
no, the
Omaha,
softball
Nebraska,
is in
Oklahoma.
It's all
it's
same.
like
I've
the
actually
general.
been watching some of the softball playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't care about the baseball.
Softball's done now, but it was great.
Oklahoma was a
train. They were
unbelievable.
I didn't realize it was done.
Yeah. You've been watching reruns.
I was watching a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
That's over.
Oklahoma was beating teams like 32 to nothing.
They just were a machine.
Yeah.
Like you got to break them up.
Yeah.
Their best player though is done.
He goes to
Break them up.
Yeah, no, but listen, they were boat racing everybody they played.
They'll hit salary cap issues next year.
And they had
That'd be
one
fine.
girl that was hitting like 3 home runs a game. And I think she's done now. She's on the program.
She's the all-time home run leader in college
She is,
softball,
yeah,
by far. Now, she had an extra year. There was the COVID year, but even without that, she surpassed.
Absolute
Jocelyn
beast.
Allow's her name. One of the best softball players of all
time. You just lose 5 cool points.
Justin's my old sports director, diehard Oklahoma fan.
Okay.
So I had to follow. All right, we're going backwards. So this was the second bet, forward or backwards. Well, Jose Ramirez recorded an RBI tonight against Kershaw and the Dodgers. Jay, you're the only one who says no.
Yeah, I know, and I've usually been on these player RBI, but Kershaw is such a witch, and I know he'll get an at-bat against at least one other pitcher, but it's got to come to an end at some point. The guy's averaging an RBI a night, so I'm saying tonight he's going to not take the collar,
Kershaw
but he's not going to get any ribs.
He's not the pitcher he once was.
No, of
He's
course
still really
not.
Good,
no, but he's still very good.
Yeah.
He's still better than your average pitcher.
That he is.
Okay.
And the last one, which was really the first one, but we did it backwards today because it's Friday and we can.
Yeah.
Bull, you're the only one who thinks it's a good bet for the Dodgers to taking.
I knew I was going to be
State your case, Bull.
Well, listen. Obviously, the Guardians have won a ton of games. But they've played bad teams. So you're like, well, I knew that you guys would overreact to them playing Kershaw, and they can't beat Kershaw. The way they're playing, I'm not going to bet against them against anybody if they're getting a run and a half.
It's the Dodgers, Bull.
It's all right.
It's not the Rockies. It's not the Royals.
Bellinger ain't doing squat.
Not the Orioles.
Justin Turner's not doing squat.
Right, okay.
Max Muncy's not doing squat.
Let's see.
Who's pitching? I don't even know for the Guardians.
It's Plesac.
Yeah, Plesac is.
Oh, that's a bad bet.
He ain't doing
See? Jason
That'd be a bad bet.
bringing some common sense to the panel.
They'll win it. They'll win tonight.
All right.
Final takes.
I got to tell you, I want to just say this. We have been all over on our show. Like, we usually go like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah. But after yesterday's show, I challenged McNuggets. Let's pick a target time for each segment so we can really keep the show focused and on track and try to do it in 2 hours. And so we had target times for every one of our topics. Have you been checking?
We've been pretty close.
We've been within 2 minutes of and we threw one topic. Yeah, and we still have been within a minute or two. So
and we did a shot.
So how about that? We're patting ourselves on the back for finally doing a 2-hour show 6 weeks in. We finally got it. Okay, Bull, you're on the clock. Final takes.
Monday we will not be on the air because it is a company holiday and a national holiday now. It's Juneteenth, although the actual day is Sunday, June 19th. And I was thinking about this. I grew up in one of the most liberal places in America, in Brooklyn, New York, right? Like, everybody I knew was liberal. And yet, I didn't know anything about Juneteenth as a kid. It wasn't taught in my school. We didn't learn about this at all. This was something that I didn't know about until probably the last decade. And I thought about this, and I said, well, why is that? Why are we not learning these things in school? Why are kids not learning these things? Why did I learn about the Tulsa race massacre that took place 101 years ago from a TV show called The Watchmen on HBO? I had never heard of this incident. I'm sure most of you listening are like, what's he talking about? The Tulsa race massacre. I don't know what he's talking about. I saw it on Watchmen. I had heard, and then I was looking it up because I was like, wow, that seems pretty specific. I wonder if that really happened. But I didn't know anything about it. We didn't learn anything about it. The Tulsa race massacre. And I'm not going to tell you about it because I want you to go look it up for yourself and learn more about it. And that's the thing, right? What did we learn when we were kids? We learned about the bullshit story about Thanksgiving. We massacred the people. We didn't break bread with them. We learn that we celebrate Columbus Day. Columbus was a horrible human being and only found the United States by accident.
A fraud.
He's a fraud. And that's why he called the people Indians, because he thought he was going to India.
No, West Indies. Right?
What do you mean?
He thought he was going. He thought he had landed in the West Indies. So
Right.
he landed and said, "You are Indians."
The Indians. He had no idea
No,
what
they're
he was
not.
doing. He was a knucklehead. People want to still celebrate that holiday. You know, there's a lot of things I don't like about our education system. The fact we have the wrong priorities in school. The fact that a priority has been made to have teachers carry guns as opposed to teaching kids to critically think, to learn all the history of this country, the good and the bad, I think is a huge problem, and I think we're going in the wrong direction in our education system. So I think as parents, which I am, my kid is going to learn the true history of this country, and I hope that all parents will do the same thing. And there you go. That's it. That's all I got to say.
All right. Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about what Juneteenth is. It's celebrating the date of the emancipation of the end of slavery after the Civil War. I think there's been a conscientious effort to make the Civil War not about slavery. I think we separate things. We separate. Now it's a faux pas to even talk about slavery. That didn't exist. Well, I'm here to tell people that if you don't acknowledge where your past is, you'll never have a future. And for a lot of individuals, it may be rough, it may be tough to hear that certain things happened back in the day. But that's the way to keep from having to go through it again. So when we talk about the emancipation of slavery, we have to come to the conclusion that slavery was a thing. It wasn't make-believe. And this isn't some Orwell book where slavery was just an optional thing, despite what singers or rappers or whoever want to say it wasn't optional. I think everybody should be forced to watch the movie Roots in elementary school. You should be forced to watch and learn actually the crime, the genocide of what slavery was. And even as a athlete, to compare certain things to slavery, I think there's a knee-jerk reaction to say if somebody is being railroaded or something, or you talk about a specific situation with an athlete, we like to kin it to slavery. It's not. I think Juneteenth is a holiday that every single company should be observing. Tegna has it off, but I know for a fact there are companies that I've worked for, there are companies that I consistently worked for in the past that don't celebrate it. The 4th of July may be Independence Day, but Juneteenth is our Independence Day, and it should be celebrated.
Real Independence Day.
Real.
For an entire culture, we were talking yesterday, and I never thought about this before until you brought this up. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before in the gym. We were talking about genealogy and how people now are the Ancestry.com and all of that. And you've been doing that, and it's hard for everybody when you start going back more than 100 years. You can't go back pre-slavery because there's no record of the existence of many of your people, and no records. And not only were records not kept, you said there were real efforts that were going on at the time to make sure that there was no written history.
People take into consideration of people take their last name personal. Just realize my last name is not my last name. It's somebody else's last name that used to own my family.
That's heavy.
That's understand that, and you take pride in that. You don't want nobody speaking on your name. But you fall into this thing where you do DNA tests and you do anything and you try to do your family tree. My family tree stops in 1820. And about everybody, if you're African American, that's the reality of it. You're never going to get back to, hey, I found the exact lineage. It just doesn't work that way.
It's hard to find my lineage as well as a Jew from Europe. We were kind of wiped off the record books. So I can appreciate that and understand what.
And you brought up that some people, it's just the inconvenient truth, so they
Right.
don't talk about it like it never happened. There are, and this blows me away, there is still I don't want to say a sizable piece of the population, but there's way too many people in this country that will argue that the Holocaust never happened.
Yeah,
We're talking 6
people
million people walked to their death in gas chambers, and there's so much proof that happened, and people are like, no, it never took place.
And like G said, with throwing around the word slavery, I think people are throwing around the word Nazi a little too easy.
You know what? Whenever I hear Hitler invoked or someone compared to Hitler or Nazism or this is slavery, it turns my stomach and they lose me in the instant they make that comparison because that diminishes what two different sets of people had to live and die through in many cases. So, you know, people, please think twice before you ever compare anything to Nazism or slavery.
But the great part
we haven't
about
seen
it,
anything like that.
The great part about it is a celebration because you got a Jewish guy and a black guy just doing this every single day, and a black woman over there doing this
every day,
every single day. And you get an opportunity in America. It ain't perfect, but it sure beats a lot of other places, right? Absolutely. I ain't going nowhere.
And we're glad.
Jason, now we've thrown all that heavy stuff at you.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm glad that he's a buffer. Wait until you see what mine is.
Yeah, right.
Like, I am so glad right now that you're here, Jason.
It was like, damn, what the hell I walk into?
Live up to that.
Well, all right. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
There it is.
It is Father's Day weekend, and I wanted to take a moment to, I lost my dad in 2018. It was during a Cavs game, and my wife called me and said, it's bad, and I think this is it. And it caught us off guard and didn't see it coming. And my dad just set the example for our family of how to work hard and provide for your family and be there and show up. And I think too many, I'm going to go a little bit heavy, but not as heavy as you guys did. Too many men in our society, it just don't show up. Black, white, it doesn't matter. Just show up. Be there for your kids. And I'm so thankful for the dad that I had and the role model that he was. He went to work at Ford every day at a job he hated, and I can't even imagine how hot it was on days like today and yesterday, pulling seat covers, working on the assembly line, so that I didn't have to do that, so that I could sit here with you guys. Like, this isn't work. Like, we're having fun. I haven't worked hard a day in my life compared to what he went through, and so I'm just so appreciative of that. And happy Father's Day to everyone out there. Put your kids first, man. Make your kids matter. Put them first. And let's be better as men in how we treat women in society and how we look at our children and how we act as men. Let's be good men.
Man,
well said.
That is very well said. I'm gonna call an audible. I was gonna show Tyvis's swing, making the not top 10.
If you don't, I will.
I'm serious. You can do it afterwards. Okay. So McNuggets, you can.
You ain't about to get me on that, dog.
Tyvis yesterday on the show showed he first ever golf swing ever. He missed the ball and he threw his club, and it actually was number 6 on SportsCenter's not top 10.
It's crazy.
So McNuggets will show that again after this. But after hearing you, and you got like, I want to be. I don't want to try to be profound, but I want to pay respect to my father too, because Jason, like yours, my dad for 30 years went to a job that he did not love.
Yep.
And he always told me from the time I was a small child, you are going to college so you can do a job that you love. And when you do, you'll never work. You'll have a job, but you'll never really work.
Yep.
And my dad made sacrifices. I was one of 5. He was a big proponent of education, probably because he was robbed of one himself. He never had the opportunity to go to college. Because in his family, you don't go to college, you go to work. And that's what he did. And he raised a family of 5 and did a marvelous job of it. I lost my dad in 2008. I've told this story so many times, so I don't know if I've told it on this show, but when my dad was dying in 2007, the Indians were up 3-1 in the ALCS, and I was fortunate enough to work for a company in ESPN that knew how important my dad was, and they said, get on the plane and go be with Pops, and stay as long as you need to stay. And I watched games 5, 6, and 7, all defeats to the Red Sox, and I knew in that moment I was going to be able to experience a championship with my dad, because the last one was in 1964, the year before I was born. And my dad told me, as when the game was over and I was fighting back tears, and my dad just stood up with his tired, ravaged body, said, I'm going to go to bed. And I'm like, Dad, you're not even upset right now. And he said, why would I be upset? I just got to watch 27 innings of baseball with my best friend.
Wow.
And it didn't end the way we wanted it to win, But I'll never forget these 27 innings for here and whatever time I get in the afterlife. This was the most important thing to me. And what it taught me was, this was the man that taught me the most important thing in life is to do your best and to win. Yeah. My dad always said, he coached me from biddies all the way up, show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. He was all about the win.
Yeah.
But in this moment, he was facing his own demise and said, I want you to change the way you look at games.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to enhance our life, not to take away from them. And I promise you, in your lifetime, you're going to experience a championship with your son, Corey. And I want you to promise me right now that whatever you're doing is going to take a back seat to what's going on in the sports world, so you can share that with your son. Because I never got to share it with you. I want you to be with him. And fast forward 8 years, the Cavs are going into Game 7. And ESPN said, do you want to be in Oakland for Game 7 or do you want to be in Cleveland? And I said, I want to be in Cleveland. My son was getting ready for the Olympic trials as a long jumper in Rutgers. And the last thing he wanted to do was leave his training. He had just gotten back from the NCAA championships, which were in Oregon. And he had to go back to California. So he didn't really want to fly a lot. And I said, I can't ask him to fly to California. So I asked him to fly to Cleveland. And I knew, guys, this is the weirdest thing. Game 7, as we all know, was on Father's Day. I had the most relaxed calm that I've ever had as a sports fan. There was very little angst. I went on SportsCenter that afternoon and held a replica NBA championship trophy, and I said, tonight we raise this. Yeah. And I knew it was going to happen that way. I knew, because I knew that my dad was up there pulling strings. And when they won, Corey and I were standing behind the SportsCenter set between Jacobs Field, or Progressive Field, and at the time, Quicken Loans. And we embraced, and we hugged, and we jumped up and down for 30 seconds, and I swear to everybody that for everything I'm worth, my dad was with us. Yeah. I felt him in that moment. And it's that relationship of father and son that is so precious. Yep. And I told you about this. I read a book recently, Tyrus, this guy, he was Snoop Dogg's bodyguard. Mm-hmm. He had a passage in the book. It was the most incredible thing that I've ever read on this topic. He was thanking people in his life, and he said, and Dad, I want to thank you for not being there, because no example was better than the example that he would have set, because his dad wasn't present. Yeah. And he said, had you been in my life just a little, I might have learned how to be a bad dad. Instead, I had to learn on my own how to be a good dad. That really hit me. Yeah. That was so powerful. So don't ever underestimate the power of being a dad. Be there for everything that you can. And I think one of the societal issues that we face is we don't have enough dads that are involved. And so try to be present.
30 seconds to back up on that. 2016 Game 7, 3 hours before I'm supposed to fly to California for Game 7, my dad's in the ER and they thought he was going to die in 2016. Wow. And I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. He was bleeding internally and they couldn't find it. And I walked in his room and he was angry. He said, what are you doing here? He said, go get on the plane. He said, you have a wife and a family. You go to work. Like, I will be fine. You go to work. And I kissed him on his forehead and I left and I went and got on the plane and I went to Game 7. Wasn't sure what was going to happen. And he lived a couple more years. And obviously then they won the championship. So I was not with him I was in Oracle for the
It's incredible
championship. But yeah.
And that's exactly what
3 hours before my flight, I'm in the hospital room with them. I don't know if I'm supposed to get on this plane and go cover the biggest game of my career or if I'm supposed to sit here with you. Yeah. And he said, absolutely not. You get on the plane and you go to work.
And by the way, take it from two guys who would give years off the back end of our lives to have lunch with our pops right now. I know I would.
Yep, for sure.
Your dad's still around. Pick up the phone.
Call him.
And call him. And
right
tell
now.
him what he means to you and what he's meant to you. And if you're within proximity, get in your car, drive over, go in the house. Don't tell him why you're there. Just give him a big hug, tell him you love him, and tell him thank you. Do it for me and do it for Jason, because I'm not kidding. I say this all the time, and people look at me like I'm nuts. I would give years off the back end of my life to spend one more day with my dad.
Totally agree.
One more day.
Totally agree.
All right, McNuggets, you get to do the not top 10.
Yeah, well, I did just text my dad and
Did you?
Yeah, and this was
love you for it, brother.
We have to end a note on a more comical, Noah. Those were all serious.
Yeah, we got to go into the weekend on
Jay,
a high note.
You praised us for getting out at 1 o'clock.
I know, and then I
so let's take the video.
Hey, I was going to do the not top 10, which would have taken 30 seconds.
And let's just laugh at Tyvis one more time. He made number 6 on SportsCenter's not top 10. There goes the golf club. Jason, I may not have seen this yet. So Jason, you just watched it. I tell you one quick story. This made its rounds on Twitter, and I got texts from people not from Cleveland. This is back in Boston, Texas, Tennessee, going, ain't that the guy in your show?
That's great, man.
So now people from all over in the previous history of my life know us because Tyvis is terrible at golf. We love Tyvis, a great person, a great football player, great on the show. My man needs some golf lessons, and I can't wait to go to Topgolf.
No, he doesn't. Stay away from golf. It sucks.
Well, you know what was funny was Tyvis texted us in a group text this morning with the video of SportsCenter having it in his not top 10, and I think he said, y'all, was I really this bad? Tyvis, the answer is yes.
Yeah, you were, bro.
Here's the important question. They mentioned the show name on the top 10.
No,
they did not.
No
they just
way.
put his Twitter handle. And that, you know what, Jay? We got to talk to your SportsCenter people about that. That's very
listen,
disrespectful.
I have been lucky enough to appear in the top 10 and unlucky enough to appear in the not top 10. So I can tell you the way they pick these things is so random and arbitrary. But I'm sure when they saw that, they said, "Oh, well, this absolutely has to be on there," especially because he was the defensive captain and maybe the MVP that year of Ohio State when they won the title. And man, does he stink at golf! And by the way, that wasn't even his club.
That was the fact. That
he
the man
own
has not
clubs.
gotten his club back.
That was it.
Still
no,
has
because
not
it's
gotten
40 yards deep in the woods up at Olentangy or whatever the golf course was they were playing up in Columbus. All right, we're out of time.
See you Tuesday.
Thanks so much to DeQuell for bringing us all an unbelievable bottle of scotch. We tried a shot earlier, and it was really good. Thanks to Jason Lloyd for coming in from the Athletic. It's always good to have you in. Everybody have a great weekend. We're back on Tuesday. No show Monday because of Juneteenth. So enjoy the weekend. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next Tuesday on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.